Yes, people, and welcome back to another episode of Spurs Kings TV with your boy Ashmatic. And we're going to look at the transfer window and some of the gossip that's been going in around the Spurs talk at the moment. We've got another returning guest on Mr. Box Office. How are you doing, my brother? Hope things are all well. How was your holiday, the rest of it?
Well, as I said, I've set and started, like I said, and I felt a bit of holiday blues as well. And I battled a few back cages as well while I was on holiday as well. My last video as well, Ange out every single time. Sorry to put the mood down, but I'm not changing on that all day long. But yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
You, man. It's good to see you
Yeah,
back in the house.
back in the house.
You got Brian as well, man, a returning guest. Brian Daigle, how you doing, my friend? How's
I
things?
am very, very good, Ashmatic. Thank you for having me back on the channel. Been looking forward to doing this with you. Apologies to everyone watching for the lateness. That was me. I take full responsibility. And I hope everyone in the chat as well. And it's always a pleasure to be with Alex as well, Mr. Box Office. This is going to be a good one.
Don't worry, man. We're on Black People time anyway. You know? Just a harmless potato, man. He just has hello all. Big up Ash. Terry as well in the building. Big up yourself, my brother. Thanks for the support, love for the love. Also got El Tel Cockerel. Good evening, good evening. Jedem as well inside. Big up Brian. And I've also got Michael, man. Michael, if you want to jump on, shout me, man. You've got my number, innit? Just message me, innit? You jump on. RFD as well. Big up boys, big up boys, big up the panel. Yes, so we're gonna get straight onto it, guys. I just want to know your quick thoughts. I haven't spoken to any of you guys since we made that major signing, and I just want to get your thoughts on Dom Salom. Sounds a bit
Dom Salom.
Oh, it sounds a bit, but yeah, the big Dom. Crazy. But yeah, what's your thoughts, guys? I'll start with Daigle. I haven't seen you for a while, so.
What's my thoughts on Dom Solanke?
Mate, yeah. All right.
Mate, listen. When we first went for him, and the fee was £65 million, I thought, what the hell are we doing? I said, well, that'll be our record transfer fee. And when I think record transfer fee, I think the Hollywood name. I think the glitz, the glamour, the big tip player coming in. And obviously it was Solanke. Then I went through a load of conflict with myself going, well, wait a minute. We were told we couldn't buy people because of the Euros. Then we went back to get a player who wasn't at the Euros. And I was getting wound up and I was getting very, very annoyed. But then I took a step back. I looked at what he can bring to the team. I actually am fully on board. I actually think this is going to end up being a good signing. But where I am with this is we bought a player that the stat that stuck out the most to me is he's got the most headed goals in the Premier League last year. Whether you want to say he's a one-season wonder, we did all right with the last one-season wonder. Let's put it that way. Why bring in? We brought in a guy who's got brilliant aerial ability, and we've got a team that can't cross a football in the air, apart from Pedro Porro. So I think he's been bought, and I understand what he brings for Ange Postecoglou's system. But we definitely need to get the players around him to get the best out of him.
Cool, man. Box Office, what are your quick thoughts on Dom? Because a lot of people are saying that in the Bournemouth side, he played front-footed football, but he had a lot of space in behind, so he had a lot of space to run into. And it kind of reminds me of Brennan Johnson when he was at Nottingham Forest. He had a lot of space to run into, and obviously he hasn't really done as well. What's your thoughts behind them? What do you think? Do you reckon he could thrive at Spurs, or do you think it would be another big money flop?
I'm okay with it. I'm being honest with you. He's got to hit the ground running. I'm not hearing this waffle about, oh well, you know, he needs time and all that. No, I ain't got time. I've said I've got no time anymore. Right? My time's done. My time was done a long time ago. Like I said before, if you don't watch Mr. Box Office TV, you would have seen it already. The point I'm making is that yeah, he will hold up the ball. He will hold up the ball better than that Richarlison, the below average Emil Heskey that's still here, which I still can't believe, and people still defend him. So like that's cool. But who is he holding the ball up to? Oh, let's look at it. The wingers we've got. Oh, the wingers that people are celebrating. Someone's actually defended him on another channel, Johnson, compared him to Chiesa and Edward. Honestly, I don't know where we're going with this. But then we've got Edwards. We've got Johnson. He's holding up the ball too. We've got Kulusevski, who should be out the team and out the door, back to Napoli, out the door on a package deal. I'm sorry, I'm done with him, right? And then you've got Son, who I'm sorry, like, yep, he's got credit in the bank, but people are questioning him right now, and he's not a captain, right? You've got Solomon still here. That is like the guy that. Where is he? Where is he? And we've still got Mikey Moore, the guy that I'm hearing now is the best thing since sliced bread. Which again, 16-year-old, 17-year-old. Again, we need to see it. So who's he holding the ball to? You get what I'm saying? No one quality.
You know what? I don't know if you're done, but let me just quickly jump in and anyone can jump in at any point. It's only two of you, but do you think with Dom high up the pitch, pinning those two centre backs, or sometimes it's a back three, so he only needs to pin one centre back, does that kind of help someone like a Kulusevski at times with his physicality? You've got two physical players. Kulusevski is quite strong on the ball. He's not the quickest, but then you look at Brennan Johnson. Brennan Johnson's quite quick, so it's two different type of wingers. Is there a case that maybe Dom Solanke gets the best out of those wingers, and they possibly score more goals off the back of it? What do you think, Brian?
So first of all, the way I've been looking at this, and I've been looking at listen, Brennan Johnson, we saw when Richarlison was fit, they had those couple of goals, one against Everton, and I think one was against Bournemouth, where they played that low ball in, and he ran on and scored. Brennan Johnson and those types of crosses can deliver. When he goes to cross a ball aerially, it goes out for a throw-in and hits the other stand. So we can have Peter Crouch, and he couldn't find him aerially. What we've got is, and I'll ask you two this question, and the problem I have with, not with Solanke, but the signing of Solanke, as in, I'm fully on board with it, but let's just say, right now, we're playing Leicester tonight. Let's just pretend that after this, we're playing Leicester. It's 0-0. And in the 90th minute, Spurs are on the attack. Dominic Solanke's free, and you've got to get a ball bang on the money for him to head in. There is only one player I trust in the Spurs side 11. Bang, Porro. That's the only person I trust to actually put a ball and get it. Whether Solanke finishes it or not, that's another question. But the only person I actually have faith in finding him aerially is Pedro Porro. And if we're going to have a guy, if you watch, there's been some great breakdowns of what he does. The great thing for us, compared to when we had Sonny or Richie when he was fit, is that guy hangs around that penalty box. He is a nuisance and is always there and thereabouts. We've got to find him. We have got to find him. And at the moment, I don't believe we have the wingers that can find him as regularly as we need to. We need to give him the supply, don't we, Ash?
So you're saying, basically, you both are saying that put Porro out wide, and he's going to be the one that's going to deliver those.
We've been saying this for so long, though, Ashmatic. We've been saying this for so long, though, because the thing is, though, for me, the best player this season, this pre-season, people keep on saying Kulusevski. Well, I don't know what they're watching. As far as I'm concerned, it's been Porro. It's been Porro all day long. And I'm sorry, that boy, with a better coach, because Ange is not a good coach, would have known that if he's down those flanks, he's lethal. He's lethal. Yeah? Down those flanks. Yeah? And he could cross a ball all day long. He can score a goal if he really wanted to try it as well. Yeah? Just to finish my point on was it Solanke?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, because I'll give you time to fund it, because I can see a little bit of thing in you. It's like you want to get in there. So like I can see a little bit in you. That you need your time to shine, bruv. The point is, yeah, right. I didn't want him. You know who I wanted. You know who I wanted. Yeah, I knew it was a risk, but like I say, I still say what I'm saying at the moment. That strike force looks too nice. And the only player that I can look at right now that's got arrogance in my team, got arrogance that will ruffle feathers, is Ivan Toney, right? Because there's too many nice players in our club, and that is going to be our deal this season. Because I'm in now top 4 and trophies, yeah. Europa League is in our back pocket with that strike force.
So basically, like, I don't know if it's true, but it's very weird that no one's going in for Ivan Toney, and the character thing is keeps coming up each and every time, and I'm like, bro, is it a thing where Ivan Toney, is he asking for mad P? Like, is he asking for mad money? Is he just kind of hard to work with? That's why everyone's staying away, because apparently he linked up with Arteta, had to fail the interview, blah blah blah. Man United were in for him, and then they kind of ghosted. Spurs, obviously, Ange has come out saying he wants certain type of characters, one bad character, and that could just disrupt the whole dressing room. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know really what's going on. Like, there's no denying Ivan Toney's quality. In terms of, like, Porro, and people have a massive issue of Porro playing in the midfield, inverting. But I've seen times where Porro's picked up space in the midfield, and he's able to do quick transitional forward balls into someone like a Kulusevski, and I'm thinking, right, if Dom's there, he can hit those balls into him where he holds up the play and then maybe feeds a Son or feeds whoever's on that right wing. Or equally, I do agree with you guys, because I do think Porro out wide, he does deliver the best crosses in the game. But you know, like that little space, I call it the half space, the one on the edge of the box, I can see Porro doing diagonals, which are harder to defend. And I can see Solanke, who's got, like, obviously the better aerial range than Richarlison. I think he might be able to provide that. But what I want to ask about Richarlison was, does anyone think that Richie will get mad upset? Because there were certain times, I remember when Kane was there, and like Rich was trumping up the bit. He wanted to be the main guy. Obviously, he was given a number 9 shirt. And does anyone think that him and Solanke might clash? Or do you think it might be the opposite, where Richie will keep Solanke on his toes? Do you know what I'm saying? And vice versa. And could they get the best out of each other just by having a bit of competition? Anyone can jump in.
Go on, box office. You go first. I'll go after you.
I'll get a violin for him then. I'm sorry. I'm not being honest. It's like, what do you want? Do you want to be winning trophies? So if you're going to win trophies, you need competition. Yeah? This is the big boy type. Like I said before. Yeah? I don't want to remind the story of Man United and their strikers who won the treble. Didn't get on with each other. Teddy Sheringham, not a likable person, but he got he got goals, he got partnerships, he got on with Andy Cole, even though he didn't get on. Couldn't stand each other. You know what I mean? Like Andy Cole and Dwight York didn't even talk to each other. Look at that partnership. Yeah,
so your
competition. Your enemy is your best friend. Like I said before, I think there's too many of these people right now. Fans don't know what it used to be like. You know what I mean? It used to be competition, but now you've got to be likable. You've got to be this personality. It's Love Island all of a sudden. You know, reality TV and all that malarkey. It's like, no, it's quite straightforward. You know me, Ashmatic, bruv, yeah? Big up Ashmatic every single time, by the way. But the point is, you know me. I'm direct to the point, and I'm sorry. If you're gonna moan and get upset, sorry, you know where the champion, you know where the bottom team is. You know what I mean? That's not what top teams do. You got to challenge yourself, mate. And if the players come in, that's your competition, mate, and that makes you better. And that's it. So if he wants to cry, here's the violin and tissues, bro. Back out the door. Back to you, Miss Matt. I'm done.
Right, me, man. What do you reckon?
So I hot take here. I still think Richarlison might leave.
Oh,
I've said it all window. I still think he may have said he's staying. He's turned down. I was convinced he was going to the Saudi Arabian League. Convinced. Obviously, he's now that's done and dusted. He's not going there. I don't know why. I just still, even though he said he wants to stay here, it's all well and good you want to stay here, But I know for a fact that the one thing that's annoying Tottenham Hotspur with Richarlison is they cannot guarantee his fitness. They just simply can't do it. And that's a fair assessment to learn. If you can get your money back on him or near it and clear the books and use that, whether we reuse it to bring someone in is obviously another question. I don't see, when he came in, I'm sure he was told, listen, Harry Kane's here. If you think you're taking top spot, think again. But there's a chance, obviously, we know what happened. He had his chance. And that little brief period he had from, what was it, December to February, he was scoring regularly and playing well. Then got injured again. As much as I'd like to see, if he could stay fit, I'd be open to him staying. And then you have got competition for strikers and Lancashire in behind. But I still think he could be going. And this is, I've not heard anything. It's just but what I will say with it is if he does stay, I think someone else said it as well. I can see him kicking his toys out of the pram. Like,
yeah, I was going to say, like, the way he plays like he's not the most technical player that we have, in the team. But what he does give you is he tries to make up with that with his ferociousness, his tenacity, his energy, his literally, even if he doesn't like win the header or win a defender, he's going to let them know they're there. He's going to bite the ankle. He's going to push them around. He's going to cause a nuisance. And I think him being competition, if we get rid of Richarlison, does that give room for Solanke to be relaxed? A bit like Maddison. Maddison hasn't really got any competition last season. Do you know what I'm saying? I know now it might be different, but last season he could be easy. Same with Basuma. Them man had no competition, so they can afford to be complacent. But with Richarlison there saying that I want to be number one, I'm the main striker, because that's what it is. When you're forward, you have to have that type of bottle about you. You have to have that type of mentality. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm just wondering if Richarlison was to stay about, would that kind of push Solanke on? Because Solanke knows if I slip up, Richie's on my case. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm coming in. And I don't know, obviously, what we're doing with Lancashire, if he's going to go off alone. Probably he will do. But just talking about other people's viewpoints, I see some of the comments were saying about set pieces. And I mentioned this to Box Office last night. I said, having like a Solanke or even a Richarlison defending those corners, that might help us because they've got physicality, they've got the height. And that's where we lack at times, I think, on set pieces. If you look at Arsenal, they've got nothing but 6-foot beasts. You know what I'm saying? Pause. But they've got like Saliba, they've got Gabriel. You know what I'm saying? They've got Calafiori. You know like they've got so many players with height that can win headers, and that's why they win so many set pieces. Do you know what I mean? That's why they're top of the list of set pieces, and then defending and attacking. So I'm thinking, if we've got Solanke in the team that's had the most successful aerial duels won in the Premier League, that surely should help us, because for Bournemouth, he was winning a lot of headers. So, yeah, man, I don't know what your thoughts on that as well, guys, are.
Yeah, go on, Box Office. Go on, you go, Roy.
Listen, I think for me at the moment, I know I'm a bit of a hypocrite saying it, but I think you're right that he needs competition, Solanke, because I'm not happy with him just being the only striker at the end of the day. But the concern for me is that we've got too many. The forward line isn't. We've got too many forwards at the moment, and too many forwards that are not useful, if you know what I mean, effective at the moment. So I do think we need competition, and I do see your point though, Ash. And him being a defensive guy as well, but it's all. I mean, it's cool. It's cool with him doing the doggy work. Maybe we should rephrase that, but you know what I'm trying to say. But I do like it. He can be a Firmino if he hasn't scored goals. He can do a Firmino role. But again, my concern is who is he playing with? That's my concern. I mean, he could get the best out of Maddison. He could get the best out of Bergvall. You know what I mean? Because I'm not going to go over the top about him, but you can see what he's all about, Bergvall. Less Archie Gray, I've got to be honest. But I think, yeah, I can see. Also, if Ange was adaptable, which we all know he's not. You could play 2 up front, when you're desperate, you know what I mean? So, and that could be something that you could try as well, because that couldn't be in the realm of, you could have Son on the left, then you could have Solanke on the in the middle, because he's never going to be on the right, and then you could have Richarlison on the right, and that's it. And then you got a little bit of variety, you know what I mean? And that's it.
Yeah, Ashmatic, you talk a good thing, a big thing about set pieces. Obviously, Dominic Solanke, I saw his heat map for defensive set pieces. He's always in and around that near post, which will obviously help things. He's a strong presence. But like I said, our main problem is not the near post. It's our social distancing from the far post. That's what we're doing now. We social distance from the far post. And you've seen it. And it's got to the point now where, like you said, with the filth down the road, everyone knows don't give them a set piece because they're very, very good at it and very well rehearsed. Well, I'm sure every Premier League manager is saying, right, if we get a free kick against Tottenham, whack it in the back post, because that's their Achilles heel. That's their weak spot. It's something we've certainly got a lot of work on. It's something, and this is the thing, you see it in all the comments in all the shows. We can all see it as fans. But I bet you the Bayern Munich goals and the goals against Arsenal in the North London derby, I would say a majority of Spurs fans are going, oh, this is a goal, before even the free kick was taken or the corner was taken. We can see it. Set pieces are a real big concern for me. It's like giving them a penalty. Giving them a set piece in and around the area right now is like giving the team a penalty.
Do you think it's fixable? Because obviously it's a glaring issue where the back post was ignored, and we had, I'm not making excuses, but Jed Spence, obviously he's a right back playing left back.
Yeah.
Going over his left shoulder. He's not checking it because he's used to balls going over the right, if that makes sense. And so maybe that could be a reason. But you've got Kulusevski there as well. And I can't remember who was on the first set piece as well. But is there a case where if we practice those set pieces, go man for man, and like get someone on the back post? Like that's what I used to do. When I'm playing ball, I was a fullback. I used to just stand on the post, bro.
Yep. That's a dying art, isn't it? It's a dying art.
Old school. Like, but I don't know. I just think, yeah, like it is worrying that these things keep happening. But I think because it was a pre-season friendly, like everyone's lost their mind, of course, because it's the same thing we saw against Arsenal. We saw it against Chelsea with Chalobah. Remember when Chalobah did that post as well, and they doubled up. They were like, "Yeah, we're gonna just." And obviously, the first game was, I think, Everton when they started jumping on Vicario. Vicario's not, he's not defending himself. He's letting himself get bullied in the box. I say for me, those things need to be readdressed. And it's like them man never passed on the notes to say like, oh, when we changed the coaches, they never said to them, oh yeah, here's the dossier for what we worked on for the set pieces, because it kind of like just switched off. But at the same time, I'm like, how much do you read into pre-season? Because some people just say it's just fitness, it's minutes in the legs, you know what I mean? And we're just trying to see maybe one or two positions, how they work, blah, blah, blah. Or is it a thing where like, this is us, this is our actual tactics and it looks poor? Like, what do you think?
It's for me, I'll go quickly on this one.
Yeah.
It's not pre-season. We saw this happening all last season. Ash, you're right that obviously the Bayern Munich games and whatever, the other pre-season games, it was pre-season. We didn't have our back four. We didn't have the full team in full swing and their physical fitness peak. But this was an issue last year, and we didn't resolve it. The only way we resolved it right near the end of the season, but it looks like it's creeped in again. It is a glaring error.
It's a glaring error because we let in, Sava had it, the stat. We had, I think it was 2 less than the team before, but we had Conte's defence and, the assistant and Mason's defence. And look at that defence. We had Dyer, Virgil van Dijk in my eyes, because we're always calling him that. Longley, Emerson in that defence. Who else was there? It was a poor
That was the back
defense.
three. That was more or less. Oh yeah. Who else? Lang. Yeah.
Don't forget Clement Longley. Yeah, Clement Longley.
Yeah, I think yeah.
It was a back three or back two. It was a back three. That's
I can't remember now. To be honest with you, it was such a blur in my head because it was such a bad season.
and Romero, of course, and Romero.
Yeah.
Well, how can we forget?
So it's a major issue.
But you know what? Saying that, Eric Dyer, as bad as a defender he was at like on the corners and stuff, he had a massive head, like, so it was really hard to get anything past it. You know what I'm saying? Longley, you could probably argue and say, yeah, maybe so, but people obviously, I think the biggest thing is this whole inverted fullback thing. Everyone keeps talking about inverting. Oh, invert. It's a problem. Ange doesn't change. It's not changing his tactics. We're gonna get pumped this season. Do you know what I'm saying? There's no hope of a ray, like there's nothing out. So I'm gonna bring up what Box Office was mentioning. Here's the average positionings of how we played against Bayern Munich, and everyone says, "Oh, look at the space here." If you look, we look super narrow here, super narrow. So you can see Mickey van der Ven, which is 33. Oh, sorry, not Mickey van der Ven.
33 is Ben Davies.
Ben Davies, sorry, my bad. Ben Davies, because it was the first half. Ben Davies, 33. And then you had Dragusin, number 6. And number 8 was Basuma. 23, obviously, Porro. 29, Sarr. 10, Maddison. 7, Son. And they've all kind of clustered together. I don't know if you can see that. And then, obviously, Brennan Johnson further out to the right. Spence is meant to be a fullback, super high up in the average position. And then you've got Kulusevski that was playing the false 9. That basically we conceded 3 times, right? Was it 3 goals we conceded in that half?
3 goals in the first half, yeah.
First half. So as you can see there, we're super narrow. The space is in behind. And if I go one further, if I click on Spencer's heat map, yeah, you can see he's in the left-hand side, but he should be operating a little bit deeper. In most people's opinion. So again, Porro as a fullback, you can see he is in that kind of fullback position there, but again, the majority of his position is in that kind of half space there. You've got Dragusin having to cover at times, and that's where he gave the free kick away when Porro wasn't there. And then obviously Ben Davies is where he should be. You've got the 3 midfielders, Basuma, not too high up, in my opinion. He's got over there, but if you can see a lot of the, he's covering a lot of the pitch.
Yep.
But what I wanted to bring up was the substitutions in the second half. And I think Ange tweaked it a bit where we're not as narrow. And as you can see, the players are slightly spread out. So you've got, obviously, Christian Romero, better quality defender, in my opinion, than Jacobson. And then you've got Mickey van der Ven, which is an upgrade on Ben Davies. Bentancur, if you see that his heat map, he's actually making a back 3 at times. Because look at the red where he is. So I'm thinking if we're playing with Bentancur, he's dropping into the back 3 a little bit more. That's a small tweak. And then also Archie Gray played right back. He's playing a little bit wider. For those transitions, as you can see, that heat map where he is defensively, he's in that right back position. And so we're not as exposed. Similar with Destiny Udogie. Again, not as exposed. That heat map where he is, he's covering that area of the pitch. So I'm just looking at that. I'm thinking, all right, cool. Maybe there is small tweaks. Maybe we're not realizing, because in that second half, in my opinion, I felt like Spurs played slightly better. And the reason being was because we went from narrow in the first half, and then we went a little bit wider, and we spread the fullbacks, made the fullbacks go on the out wide, going out on the outside a bit more, and that stopped Bayern Munich from getting any progress on that pitch. But that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. That's what I saw, and I thought also in the 6 positions, I didn't bring out Bergvall, but I saw Bergvall rotating. I saw Bentancur rotating in the 6th position. And then sometimes Skip would collect the ball off the centre backs and the full backs. So they all took turns and they all had different responsibilities. So will we start to see this during the season when things aren't going right moving forward? I don't know, guys. What are your thoughts, man?
Go on, Boxy.
Listen, if you put the first half and second half, what you're seeing right now, what the still average position of the first half and the second half, I'm more comfortable. Even though I don't rate this style of football. But if I'm looking at what I'm seeing from the second half, I'm more comfortable with the second half right now,
Yeah.
average positions, than rather than the first half, because I think the second half looks more sensible for me. You know what I mean? It reminds me of what Poch was trying to do. You know, when Dyer was going into the defence. You know what I mean? Oh, is that Marlon being lazy? You know, on holiday. Anyway, big up to him. Anyway, you know, you should thank your boy Ashmatic, by the way. Anyway, moving on. But the point is, yeah. But yeah, I just think it makes more sense because, you know, having someone that goes into that back three, you know, it just makes more sense. You know what I mean? It reminds me of Poch because Dyer used to go into that defence, you know, from midfield, didn't he?
Yeah.
And seeing Archie Gray a little bit on the flanks makes me more comfortable because then you're trying to hurt players on the flanks. You know what I mean? That's where Poro should be. You know what I mean? You know, because I think that's where you can get the best out of him. You know, and you know, then the other stuff as well. Just it looks more. I'm more comfortable with the average position in the second half than the first half. But I mean, I admittedly haven't really watched. I only watched highlights of the game.
Yeah.
I only watched mostly of the first half, which was
Respect
only
that, I respect that.
because the second half there weren't that many highlights, to be honest with you. Because I think, you know, it's a friendly and that's it. But yeah, to answer your question, I'm more comfortable with what I'm seeing average position from the second half. You know what I mean? Especially Bentancur, and that's it for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take this kind of slightly. We'll talk about it, but I'm going to go from it in a kind of different angle. The way I normally look at pre-seasons is by this one, which is like always your home game, your first pre-season or your only pre-season at home is that one before the big kickoff. I used to be of the old school where that game was used where the manager used what he thinks is mainly going to be his first team squad. To have that team to have more than one half of football, to really get the muscles going and get the match fitness in their legs, and all the whole of this pre-season tour has been kind of a mixed match of these players will be in my first team on this half, and some of these players from the second half. Big up, Deji. And it's confused me a bit because how do the players cohesively get along and get to know what they're doing? And what has worried me the most is if you look at the pre-season tour, apart from Kulusevski, the players we've learned the most about and have had the best pre-season are the youngsters. Your James Maddisons, your Sars, your Basumas, your Sunnies, they have not lit up any, or they haven't really come away going, yeah, do you know what? I'm season ready. Your Alfie Devines, your Mikey Moores, your Donnellys, they've all come away and it's like, my God, they've got something to offer. I've just been a bit bemused with how we've approached this pre-season.
If I could come in and I'll bring Deji in afterwards. I think it was obviously last season we never had the Euros, we never had a Copa of America, and I think those guys coming back from those competitions, they didn't want those players to be burnt out, and so unfortunately, I think it would have been nice to have Mickey Van de Ven starting and Romero starting, and even possibly Bentancur getting some more minutes and, you know, getting some minutes in his legs. I agree, but I think for some of our first teamers, we had to see them out. Hence why we saw the youngsters quite a bit. But yeah, I'll bring Deji in. Big up my broski. How are you doing? Good. Yes, basically we're just talking just a quick overlook about Solanke. I didn't want to get everyone's thoughts, but we moved on from that and we were talking about Ange's tactics. Like, can we sustain a serious season, continue with Ange's tactics at the moment? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, big up to everyone. Ash, Brian, Box Office, my bro, all of my brothers here. Look, It's a yes and no. So I agree with Brian. It was a question that I was asking someone just a moment ago, and I was saying it doesn't make sense to me to not be trying to get the rhythm and the squad right. So I just wanted to just chime in on that, because that's not how we've been playing is not what we're going to play against Leicester. So why are we wasting our time with something we know we're not going to do? But the circumstance is the circumstance, and the argument that was put to me was, look, we are giving the youngsters an opportunity, and we are trying to get people up to speed and fit. And look at Van de Ven, we got him 3 days before the season started, and hey, he was able to hit the ground running. So let's hope some of the other players are able to do that. Look, I think our first 11 can. Our first 11 can. Udogie, Van de Ven, Romero, Porro, a decent midfield trio, Son on the left, Solanke, and whoever we put on the right. Yeah, we can sustain that. And I think the good thing about what they've done, and Brian is right, is I think it doesn't seem sexy at the moment, because a lot of the players that have been doing well have been the youngsters, and and in our mind is telling us they're not proven yet. But everyone had to start from somewhere. Do you get me? The Bergwijls of this world could come on and take the league by storm. Mikey Moore could come on the pitch, take the league by storm, and then we would be singing a different hymn come December. Do you know what I mean? And for me, I put this down to Ange Postecoglou. I think it's brilliant. Can you imagine? I don't think anyone's deep the fact we've got 2 strikers. People talk about the fact that we've spent 120 mil of Harry Kane money, and we've got Richarlison and Solanke. We've got 2 strikers that can get us 15 goals each. That's better than where we were before. That's depth. Look at our midfield. We've got quite a lot of midfield players now. Whether they're on form or not, Bentancur, Maddison, Kulusevski, Bissouma, Pape Sarr, they've all been pretty dusty so far pre-season. But these are our options. So in terms of being able to maintain the football, the only way to maintain on ball is to have more players, more quality players who can play it. And arguably, we have more depth than we did this time last season. So the answer would be yes. And we know that the business hasn't finished. Brian, I'm looking at you, and I'm also looking at my best friend, Mr. Box Office. We know we're going to get a winger. Yeah? We pretty much come out to say the same. So if we bring in that winger, bloody hell, mate, it's not as dusty as we think it is. You get what I'm saying? So let's just hold tight and just take a step back.
Before you guys come in, as I know you guys are itching, you spoke about a right winger. And I don't know if the club are going to get a right winger. I don't know. I can only hope and pray like Movado. You know what I'm saying? I really don't know. But there is a winger I was looking at, and I thought, maybe we can get this winger, and he's not as expensive. Oh, your aircon is loud, Brian.
Oh, you can hear it. Turn it off. I'll turn it off.
No, I'll mute you. No.
No, turn it off, bro. I'll turn it off.
That's a bloody good aircon.
Hey, it's off. It's off. It's off. It's off, mate. It's off. It's off. I'll wait till we go off. Mate, it's been powered up. It's been powered up.
No, it's mine now. You can turn it back on. But listen, I've been looking at wingers. I'm thinking, who is a right winger we could get in? And I've come up with this guy called Zhegrova. Edon Zhegrova. He's 25. Kosovo international. Right winger. Basically 6 foot. 25 mil transfer market. So maybe you slap on another 10. So maybe 30 mil, 35. Goals in all competitions, 8 goals, 7 assists in all competitions. That's 15 goal contributions. Not that impressive, if I'm being totally honest. But nonetheless, he's played on the left wing, but his main position is the right wing. And as I said before, he was left-footed. Had played for Genk and Basel. And we know like Basel have a few ballers that come out that team still. Salah being one of them. Right winger, as I said before, left foot. Contract ends in 2026. So I think he could be prized away to the Premiership. You never know. We could offer him 4-2-3-1. Plays the same team as a certain Jonathan David, who we're still linked with, funny enough. So
and look at that, and a Bill Bentaleb as well.
And a little Bentaleb as well, old school. So maybe it has some legs where Brian was saying Richarlison still might be sold, because I keep hearing Jonathan David rumors. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, heat map, as you can see, I don't know if you guys can see that, but he's predominantly on that right-hand side. And I think right wing, pushing out Johnson. I feel like Johnson's more of an impact player, in my opinion, if he's going to be a winger. And I was saying before, at Nottingham Forest, he looked more of a wide forward as opposed to a touchline winger. And so I think this guy could be different to maybe a Solomon or a Werner or what we have at the moment. Some of his stats: shots total in the green, shot creation actions really high, progressive carries are really high as well, successful take-ons. That's the main attribute I'm looking at. And his first touch, which is progressive passes received in the green, really high, 93% out. Despite what the numbers say for his defending stats, I did read some scouting reports on him, and I did watch him. And with the games I watched him in, through the games I watched him, his pressing is good. He's a good presser. So sometimes the stats don't always match up with the eye test from what I've seen. As I said before, shots per 90. I've done him with Conceição, Mamamouche. I'll rate those two guys. Kvaratskhelia, Brian's favorite, as well as box office's favorite as well. And Bakayoko, everyone's going mad for, innit? I like Bakayoko. Yeah, his shots per 90 is decent. Shots on target per 90 is not too bad either. When I have watched him, though, I thought he needs to get better decision making, in my opinion, when to shoot. Because some of his shots are blocked, and he could get more shots on goal if that wasn't the case. But yeah, here he is, man. Go for it. Top bit, no problem. Bang, left foot. There's something about left footers as well, guys.
Is he a left footer?
He's a left footer. Something sweet about a left footer.
Right, yeah.
Something like the way he strikes the ball very cleanly, opens his body up, boom, across the goalkeeper. Look,
kind of Sakaresque.
Yeah, get in the box, left foot, takes it. I like that shot. That shot was beautiful. If you play football and you see the way he's taking that shot, look at this. Hey, listen, cooking. And the way he takes that first shot, first touch out of his, he's just lacing it each time, putting his foot for it. Foot for it each time, getting that ball top corner again, no problem. You know what I'm saying? On the rebound of his weaker foot, right foot finish, left foot again.
Just seeing that, I would take him ahead of Kulusevski, because that's been my gripe with Kuli. Yeah. So many times he has an opportunity to shoot and then he bloody cuts back. Someone who just has an opportunity and just back. I don't think the only other person in our team who would just take a shot from anywhere is probably Pedro Porro, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you're right. You know,
need that. Yeah.
Someone for me needs to start letting it go like he used to back in the day. I know he's slowing down and he's touching it already, but I need to see that old school Son that used to pop shots outside the box. You know what I'm saying? And I saw it in pre-season a little bit, but I don't know if it's because it's the opposition. He was in Korea, he was gassed. But he needs to stop. Like, remember Leicester when he come on and he banged them 2 goals, not the hat trick, and he had that kind of he had the arrogance that box office likes. He didn't even celebrate. He was like, brother, you got started doubting me. I said, yes, I need to see this type of Son. I don't know if Son is competition or what, but I need to see angry Son. If you get angry Son, I don't know. Obviously, he hasn't got that many seasons in him left, so I don't know if it's a downward hill from here. But you know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, shot creation actions, guys. I digress. Key passes, third against Kvaratskhelia, not bad. It's not bad, you know, decent. Passes into the final third, 3 behind Kvaratskhelia. I mean, you know, it's not bad, is it? Expected assists behind Conceição, Bakayoko, assist merchant. Passes into the penalty area. That's what PPA stands for. It's looking kind of high to me, more than Brennan Johnson. But yeah, here we go. Here's his link-up play, a little assist there.
The only question I would ask, though, Ash, seeing that these are obviously lovely clips, but you know, one of the things that I know that the French league just isn't as physical.
Well, we've got Hazard from the French. Well, Hazard come from the French league from this particular team, Leal. Don't forget that one.
Yeah,
there's a certain player that plays in Serie A for AC Milan called Leal. Now, the things I would do, the things I wouldn't do to get him. Like, he's a top player, bro. Yeah. Little pale wet through ball. See you later. Cut back. See you later. Look at the cut. Look, left foot, right foot, cut back. You know what I'm saying? This is something I don't think we possess at the moment. Look how he cuts in and then he finds those little diagonal balls. thinks onto his left foot. Look at the diagonal into the box again.
You've really done your Danny Rose work on this one, haven't you?
Listen. I'm just saying, man. Look,
what's he worth? How much would he be? How much would he?
So our transfer market was 25 mil.
Huh?
25 mil, but I always add 10 mil, 35 could get them out. 35 million euros, light work. Look at little diagonal, he should do better there. Again,
can I just say as well, just very quickly, Price, who's in the chat, has said about why don't we go for Nusa. There's a very good reason we go for Nusa. Here we go today to RB Leipzig, so that one's done and dusted.
I'm looking at this guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nusa would have. We looked at Nusa before. He would have been good for us. But yeah, we move. This guy comes in, little diagonals into the box, gets to the byline again. Tricky beats his man. Little cut back there again. Successful take-ons compared to Kvaratskhelia. Not far off him. Attempts are quite a bit as well, but successful quite a lot. So 51.7% of his take-ons are successful. And I'm going to demonstrate that as well. I'm going to show that. As I said, the first touch as well, good. First touch was really good as well. But yeah, here we go. Slows it down and speeds it up. On the half turn, beats his man, slows it down, goes in, dribbles inside. He doesn't know if he's going to go inside or out, puts it through his legs in the end. Dribbles on the outside, able to go on the inside, slows it down and goes down the wing again. Picks the ball, beats him, keeps it still. Slowed and fast, chops inside, comes in, gets the first touch, boom. That's what you want from a winger. You want your winger to stand the man up and then take him on. Like literally, first thought, can I beat my man? Can I do him? And that's what he does. Puts it through his legs again, a bit of trickery there, coming inside there into dangerous positions, into zone 12, zone 14, cuts inside there again, on the edge of the box, gets to the byline. And again, cutting and looking dangerous. They have to bring him down at this point. They don't know whether to stand off him or keep tight to him. And there's about 2 or 3 men trying to take him on. 2 or 3 men just getting sucked. That will leave space for Dom Solanke and Son on the opposite side. So again, comes inside, puts it through his look, stands it up, boom, boom. Quick feet, boom, beats him. Again, takes him down the byline and able to beat this guy each time. So every clip I'm showing, every time he's taking on 2 or 3 players, and he's not just going on the outside, he's going on the inside. He's able to put it through their legs and do different things here. Crosses. He tops it for crosses, by the way. So crossing, he's a good crosser of the ball. So you're going to get a bit of variety. You're not just going to get balls fist across the box here. Dangerous areas. That's what you want. A cross into a dangerous area. The player should be doing better there. Stops it, then crosses the ball again. Diagonal crosses that I was talking about earlier that Porro does. Again, another diagonal cross. David should be finishing these chances.
I like him. Have you added Postecoglou about this?
You know what? I need to still. I need to.
We need to add him on Twitter.
Hey lads and ladettes in the chat. Make sure you're adding Postecoglou, Lange, all the man them. That's Tottenham Hotspur way, whatever you want to call it. This guy, for me, not bad. It's not.
Ash, is there? Listen, from the obviously we all know what a YouTube compilation can do, but the stats are impressive. Is he staying at Lille? Is there rumours that he's on the move from? Because listen, I think it's pivotal, absolutely pivotal, that a winger comes in, like absolutely, to get the best out of Solanke and to add a bit of creativity, because obviously Maddison is either getting crowded or injured or just out of form. We need that spark. We need that rocket. And don't get me wrong, those clips you looked or showed looked like the kind of... I want a winger like Chris Waddle. Chrissy Waddle back in the day that did exactly what you just saw there. No one could touch him. Gets to the wing, whip it in. I don't know if he would be the... But what is his transfer status at the moment?
I said it before at the start of the video. He's got 2 years left. He's 20. I think he's 26 now. So he's at a right age. He's not too young. He's not too old. Left-footed. He's 6 foot, so he's not small. Contract ends in 2026, as Alpesh has just said on transfer market, as I showed there. So we're headed into 24-25 season. Levy likes, players with 1 or 2 years left in their contract. So I'm like, look, we could take a gamble on this guy. I think, like I said, I compared him to Kvaratskhelia, who we all love. Yeah. I compared him to Conceição. I thought he had amazing Euros, but he's been tearing it up in the Portuguese league. I know that league's not really rated as high as other leagues, but he's amongst good other wingers. He beats Brennan Johnson in every single metric.
Yeah, but I have to say, like someone said in the comments, the one thing you got to take in that Brennan Johnson at least was in every single metric.
Say again?
At least Brennan Johnson was in the list of all those players you mentioned. Yeah. Unless you did you put it in to compare to Johnson? Or...
Yeah, I put him in.
Okay, that's why I was about to say.
When I'm comparing players, I try to put a Spurs player in.
Gotcha. That doesn't make sense.
And I try to put, so we know the level. We know like
gotcha.
Brennan Johnson's got 33% successful take-ons. This guy has got 52%. Successful take-ons. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, completely.
So 1 2, he's going to beat his man. And more time, like Brennan Johnson, he wants to run behind more time, or he wants to pass it back because he hasn't got that type of. He's not that type of animal. He hasn't got that type of tech. He ain't got the techers. Respectfully, baby boy, baby J, yeah, baby J face Johnson, yeah. But I'm just saying. I said to Box Office earlier, I feel like. When he was at Forest, he was more of a wide forward, more of a running and behind type of forward, not really a hug touchline winger. And for me, this guy is more of a touchline winger that can beat a man. And like, if you want critiques, because I know everyone's nervous. I'll bring these players and it's bare YouTube clips, and I divided it up into shots, preparation actions, creativity, passing stats, crossing, what else? Goals, shots. My critique of him was decision making at times.
Okay.
When to shoot. Do you know what I'm saying? So that can be improved a bit. But I think he's got all the minerals to improve our squad if we're not, and doesn't break the bank too much, something that's realistic. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's the only thing. The only thing I don't know is things like tangible things. Is it how is his attitude and things like that? I don't know the character of him. I don't know. Yeah. A little slit in his eyebrow. So that could mean it comes from Kosovo. So he comes from the war. I don't know, innit?
Aaron Lennon's his hero, and he's copying Aaron Lennon.
Yeah, boy, I don't know. So you can make of that with what you will. But I
mean, look, I was just gonna say, look, I think it's a good shout. I think he's a quality player, and stranger things have happened at our club. I'm just thinking back to the Solanke thing. If someone told me just over a week ago that Solanke would be our number 9 for the new season, albeit he's not going to be number 9, I'd have just said, shut your mouth. But, literally from when we got the links, 5 days later, he's a Spurs player, and Alex was shaking his bum violently for him on Saturday afternoon.
Can I just be honest with you, Ashmatic? Can I just be honest with you? I don't even know why you're apologising, because let's be honest here, you're just embarrassing this scouting network that is supposedly so good at the end of the day. You've sown how many players in the last how many months? Yeah, the one that was the one and that Stelios can vouch you for, by the way. Another coach, by the way. Was it Cavascalia? No, Carafori. Yeah, you got the credit for him because no one knew about him.
Yeah,
yeah. So why is it that I'm sorry, the chat is embarrassing. As soon as you put Johnson's name, he's in all the lists, by the way. But this guy runs rings around this guy. I'm sorry. It's like, I'm sorry. This is why I don't listen to any person telling me we can't get anything better. Because that guy you just shown right now, you shown a couple of weeks ago when I was on your stream, 2 players that would get in our team 110% better than our wingers all day long. And all we can get is Johnson, bang average Johnson, Kulusevski that was good 10 years ago. Yeah, Song that's going down the pan, right? Even though he's got credit in the bank, yeah. Solomon is nowhere to be seen, and then we're saying, "Oh, we can't get anybody." What are we doing here? And you just show somebody right now that I'll tell you right now, I'll take him in my team all day long. All day long. I'm fuming because you're embarrassing our scout network, by the way. You should get a job. Ashmatic, and you should acknowledge it as well. Back to you, Ashmatic. I'm done.
Mr. Box Off. No, you are 100% right. The work that Ash is doing is legendary, and we've got to put some respect on his name. The only thing I would say to you is just because, look, Postecoglou has pretty much said a winger is definitely coming in, just like he said a striker is definitely coming in. And don't be surprised if it's
I've just had a holiday to Jamaica, bruv. I'm still waiting.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I'm still need to be married yet. I'm still waiting to be married yet. I'm still waiting. I'll be waiting still until Timbuktu.
But I did make that point that Van de Ven literally came in 3 days before last season kicked off, and what a player. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah, but who got him? It was the last guy that we dropped because we got Johan Lang in.
No, Van de Ven was all Ange. He wanted him at Celtic.
Yeah.
Van de Ven was all Ange Postecoglou. Other players did come in via Paratici and whatever, but Van de Ven was all Ange.
So I'm sorry, I'm just fuming because I'm sitting there and like Ashmatic is literally just doing this off of his own back. So with the scouting that what we've got that we are bigging up, by the way, right? And he's just literally done that just by doing what he's doing at the moment with the utensils, the sources he's got, compared to what we've got, technology we've got. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
It's a quick one. What do you feel is the priority position? Because everyone's screaming that we need a 6. How do you guys feel about this? And the chat as well. How important is the 6? Is the 6 detrimental if we don't get a 6? Is it a thing where we don't do well this season? Is our season over if we don't get a 6? Anyone can jump in. Go on,
can I jump in? Is that right?
Yeah, go.
So first and foremost, we either believe in our gaffer or we don't. Yeah,
I don't.
So this conversation about the 6 is redundant because he's already said he doesn't want a traditional 6. He's already said that, so we know we're not getting a 6. Yeah, it could be an Archie Gray or a Bergvall. You know, he wants a fluid midfield of 8s and 10s and whatever he wants, and 6, and they can play all those positions. So we're not going to get that traditional number 6. So sorry to burst anyone's bubble. For me, as Alex has rightly stated, the wingers is a disgrace. I don't want to see Timo Werner ever again. When I see him at the petrol station, I will be saying Auf Wiedersehen. If not, he would be getting kicked in the back of his head. The same for Brennan Johnson. Brennan Johnson gets 5 minutes a game and nothing more. And Kulusevski has shown us that he can't play out on the wing. Brian, I think I watched one of your clips. I think it was yesterday, where you said you never want to see Kulu on the right-hand side. And I have to say, I will join you. Never again do we want to see Kulu on the right. Maybe he can go toe-to-toe with Maddison. I say we bring in an Eze, or we bring in someone, a Neto type style player, a bit like the lad that you just shown us. Look, just someone better than what we've bloody got. And we do need another midfielder. We need someone with energy. I got a bit nervous yesterday when Atletico Madrid pulled out of Conor Gallagher because I never want to see Moses Kiptanui at our club. I just don't want to see him there. I don't want to see a marathon runner just running on the pitch, just full of energy. I don't want to see him. So as long as we can bring in a decent midfielder to support the midfield and a proper out-and-out winger who can do the job, then I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, we got Michael jumping in.
Mike, sorry, buddy.
No, go for it. I just wanted to say hello to Mike. That's all. Go on.
No. So, Mike, how you doing, buddy? Let Michael speak. He's just joined. Let Michael speak.
Yeah, I'm fine. Big up to everyone I know already. Big up, Deji. It's first time meeting you. Nice to meet you, mate.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. By the way, guys, do you know how to make this thing louder? Because the studio here is extremely quiet. I don't know how to make it louder.
You sound loud to me, bro. I can hear you loud and clear, man.
I don't think he can hear us loud and clear, though.
Yeah, I can't hear you loud, so it's like...
Oh. Yeah, bro, I ain't got the answers for that, bro. I apologize.
Okay, I will manage, no worries.
Yeah, you might have to box the headphones, bro. Old school. You might have to do it old school. Use the laptop speakers. Yeah. What are your thoughts on the whole situation? I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me properly?
Yeah, I can hear you clear. It's just a bit loud.
You're quiet. Yeah. So, what's your thoughts on this whole 6 situation? Are you in agreement with majority of the fan base that we need a 6, or do you think are you on that same wavelength of what Deji was saying that he's already told us we're not getting a 6? It's a player that can do what the 6 does, the 8 does, the 10 does, rolled into one, and maybe someone with a different profile I don't know.
So, like, personally, I would go for a 6, right? I think with the way that we play with our wing backs, I think like having a 6 focused on defending, not like this trio of 8s. I think that's the best way to describe what we are doing. I think it's like a trio of 8s where they all kind of like rotate with each other. They all can like assume the same role, right? The issue is that oh, Ash is gone.
Ashmatic's left his own stream.
Yeah. So it's like I would personally go for a 6 because I think with the way that we invert our wing backs, I think it would be beneficial to drop the 6 down and form like a back 3 to support the center backs, right? But I think I will like back Deji on what he said. I think we already got the memo from the club that we will not go for a designated number 6 because and I think basically what the club decided is that we have enough depth in the midfield. Whether we are, satisfied with the depth or not is a different thing, right? But when you look at it, we actually have 8 midfielders, right? And with the context of this, like we don't play with a 6, 8, 10. We play with 3 midfielders that all can do the role. I guess we have enough depth, right? But I think this midfield is a bit too offensively focused, in my opinion, right? Because even if we consider Bissouma 6, I think he's really he likes going forward, right? Bentancur, he likes being that box-to-box guy, right? Sarr, same thing, right? Maddison should be up the pitch, not down there, right? So it's it's really strange because, as I said, personally I would go for a 6, but I don't think we will, right? And whether it's a bad thing, listen, it's hard to say, right? I have to see us play in the season to decide if it's a good thing that we didn't go for a 6 or not, right? Because as you guys rightfully pointed out, it's judging and making extreme conclusions on the preseason is a bit overblown for me. I think many people are just overblowing the preseason performances, but it's yeah.
Michael, do you think it's overblown? I'm just to say, usually for me, there was a season where I went with my family to watch Spurs against Colchester, and that was under Nuno. And although we won about 3-0, we looked pretty dusty that game. And what transpired afterwards was pretty dusty in the Prem. I can't lie to you. I've not really. I mean, I love I love our club. I love our club, but I can't sit here and tell you I'm excited about the Premier League starting, but I'm not so confident that we are going to slap up these teams. I do think, yeah, it's looking techie, but then that could be deliberate. These guys could turn up against Leicester next week and put 5 past them, but the way we got dismantled by Bayern Munich twice just didn't fill me with any confidence. I've seen Spurs preseason tear up a Bayern Munich team or of that ilk preseason into Milan's, to say some of the teams that we've beaten preseason. But that's those performances against Bayern Munich were pretty dusty. I can't lie.
Yes, sorry, maybe I worded it badly, right? But what I wanted to say is that people go from 0 to 100 really quick. I think it's we don't just keep it in the middle and try to analyze it. I've seen a lot of reactions as to Bayern absolutely fucked us over. We are trash. This player is trash. That player is trash. This player should be sold. That player should be sold. And I'm I try to be in the middle. I try to criticize where criticism needs to be made, right? But I also try to praise where I think we should praise the club, right? And what I can definitely criticize the club for is not dealing with the set pieces. It absolutely drives me crazy when I watch us conceding stupid, easy goals against oppositions, right? And people can tell me, oh, listen, it's Bayern, they are a world-class team, with world-class players, right? Fucking 11 aside from Poland could score that type of goal, right? If they are given this much space at the back stick, right? It's absolutely ridiculous for me the way we defend the set pieces, right? But I can also give praise to certain players where I think like many try to like put them down too much, right? I've seen some mad opinions on Archie Gray already, right? And I don't want to say that this guy is like a world-class talent and that he will be, England's starting number 6 or whatever, because that's going too far. But also I've seen opinions like 40 million wasted, he's shit, we should sell him already or loan him or whatever, get rid of this guy, right? So that's more what I meant, right? I think people are overblowing.
No, I hear you, bro. I hear you. We did mention it at the start of the show about this and whatnot. But yeah, I get what your concerns are. I think a lot of people's concerns are similar. But I want to get Brian in quick because he has to make a move.
Yeah, I do.
I want to hear your opinion about the whole 6 situation versus midfielders doing all the jobs.
I'm with Deji on this. As much as we all can see we need as number 6, and I would love, if I could go back in time in our recent history and pluck a midfielder to put in this, go give me Victor Wanyama.
Yes.
Go give me Victor Wanyama and just say, do what you do. That one season we had him where he was with Dembele, to me, he was our player of the year that year.
Yeah.
Forget Harry Kane getting the 30 goals and the 4. That guy was a beast. And it was like, you ain't getting past me. You ain't getting past me. And that's what I think we need here. But like Deji said, we can say we all need it till we're blue in the face. We're not going to get it. We're not going to get it because Ange doesn't want to play that way. For me, we have to get... I've seen a couple of people saying Matt O'Reilly from Celtic, love him. I think he'd do very well. But he had him at Celtic. So you'd have thought if he was good enough to be here, maybe we would start making moves already. There's been other midfielders mentioned. Edison would have been a great job. It's not going to happen. So for me, the most important thing to do is get the winger that we need. This engine, the number 8, we're apparently looking for, and then go get a left back. Yeah. That's what I want to see happen this window. But if I had to choose right now, one player comes in for the rest of the window, go get me a damn good right winger.
Jay, are you there?
Yeah.
Is Jay there?
I am here. Hidden behind probably the best I've looked in a while.
I'm off. I'm going to let you guys carry on the show.
Yeah, no, sir.
Jay, I wish you better, buddy. I've heard you're not
good.
Thank
you very much, bro. Thank you very much. I was watching the show. You boys are doing a great job.
Oh, well, thank you. So, Michael, always a brother. Actually, listen, take my number off Ashmatic. Yeah. Let's talk and we'll do something together, man.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you.
Box office, always a pleasure, sir. Ash, always a pleasure. Can't wait to have you on Evening Brews next week, buddy. Yes, and it wouldn't be me leaving a stream without just warming this up. And as always, Levy out.
Peace and love, bro. Peace and love. Jay, I want to get your thoughts on this whole midfielder situation. Do you agree with the panel or with that we need a super six, a 6 in midfield, a defensive midfielder? Or do you have a different opinion on what what Ange said? Obviously, he likes midfielders that can do a bit of everything. Where do you stand on that?
So I kind of think that sometimes you're looking at a puzzle that's not put together, and then I see certain characteristics of players, and I understand. I think the first thing I always do when I look at the team is I distinguish between what I want and what I think the manager wants. But then on the flip side, the manager doesn't have carte blanche to do whatever the fuck he wants. Do you know what I mean? It's not like we need them. If we can spot issues, I tend to think that those issues might tangibly be bigger than a simple fix. Do you know what I mean? As in, it seems simple, but I think it's more pronounced like that. So, I think that there's a lot of profiles that people like, but I think one thing to me that the club's very big on at the moment is we've just spent all this time and effort trying to clear the squad of players that didn't add value. And you have to be very careful which players you want to reintroduce into this squad. For example, the right winger, I feel like we're already at 3rd or 4th person. So I then would say to you, okay, if you had a list and you had 3 wing, like Neto, neither of them. Now you're on 3rd, 4th winger. At what point do you say, actually, just go with what we've got and we'll revisit the market in January, summer with better prospects? or you say, oh, we need a right winger, because obviously the right wingers you now target are lower down than they weren't your first choice anyway. So I see it kind of like a vicious cycle with that, with regards to midfield. I think, like I said before, Bazuma Gray is the best midfield, like as a pair. Like, I feel like those two complement each other the best in terms of what they lack as a skill set and what they gain. And I think we need the protection, personally.
What evidence do you have to say that, you know, Basuma, was it Basuma you said? Basuma and Gray?
Yeah, so basically...
What makes you think that they're the best suited for that job?
So my logic is, if I look at Bazuma, I think his best attributes are his ability to dribble, the ball, and his ability to take the ball in tight areas. Gray can break lines and can cover defensive space well. So to me, when you play Bazuma with Sarr, Bazuma's best attribute is dribbling, but he's in a role where passing is more important than dribbling. So therefore, when you're in that role specifically, he's going to start passing the ball. He's going to start passing. It's not his best attribute. So what you've got then is, when you bring Gray in, you've got someone that can break lines, someone who's very mobile defensively, which is something Bazuma lacks. But then on the other side, you've got Bazuma's dribbling, his ability to play in small spaces. So I think when I look at those two skill sets, they complement each other quite well. Obviously, you lose something with Sarr's ability to cover yards and stuff, but I do think Gray's more defensively savvy than him in terms of positioning. So, it's just a theory. Like I said, Bazuma Sarr could be fine, Gray Sarr could be fine, like Bergwall, try him in the 8. It doesn't really. But when I look at Bazuma's attributes, when I look at Bazuma's attributes, I say this guy, if your best attribute out of everything is dribbling on the ball, but in a 6 you can't do that because you'll be vacating your position, essentially you're neutralizing this player. So the only thing to me is either this player doesn't play, or you try and mitigate their deficiencies by bringing somebody in who can complement them. And I feel Gray potentially, especially off the ball as well. When I was watching Gray off the ball, he covers ground well, things like that. Sarr's more of a press destroyer rather than a ground covering defensive positioning person. So again, it's just little things thinking maybe these two would complement it. There's no science to it. It's just looking at the...
Yeah, so it's kind of like, of course, not to the same skill level, right? But kind of like Musa Sissoko and not Musa Sissoko. What the fuck am I talking about? Musa Dembele. Sorry.
Yeah,
Musa Dembele and Wanyama, right? So,
exactly. So that you got one. Exactly. You have a guy who sits, but you have another guy. Imagine if Dembele played the 6, and you basically told him he can't dribble. He can't use his number one attribute. That's what you're doing to Bazuma.
Trying to use Dembele in the 6th role where he had Wanyama, right? So I also find it an issue, right? I think we are relying too much, like defensively and passing wise, on Bissouma, and we should have another guy who would do more of that work.
I genuinely believe if you have someone that sits, then a number of our defensive issues will be mitigated. I honestly think and Bentancur as well. Bentancur Gray. I reckon that could work well. As well.
I just think Bentancur in the 6, from what I saw versus Bayern Munich, he kind of was able to spray balls from deep. He was able to pass balls over the top, switch to play a bit more. So those attributes you're talking about, what Gray would do, I thought Bentancur's got the experience because he's done it at Juventus.
100%. 100%
are there, and I think putting Gray in that position, I would rather blood him in slowly.
Well,
the reason why they've put him as right back, because at times, or as centre back, so basically when you start playing youngsters in different positions, you're basically trying to prepare them, trying to learn each different role, so then they understand how to play the 6 properly, where to be if your right back's in a certain position, if you're a centre back, where you're going to be. So that's the reason why they've played him as a right back, they played him as a centre back, but it's just to really understand those roles. Do you know what I'm saying? Box office, what's your opinion on this? Do you think any of our midfielders could be a 6, or could that be fixed internally, or do you think we need to go out and get a 6, in your opinion?
I think we've got mediocre midfielders. I'm confused about the two that just made the opinion about Basuma and Gray. I mean, I'm sorry.
I don't agree with Gray being the person, right? But I agree with
I'm confused about the two. This theory about these two being together, because Basuma looks like he's in headlights because he feels like he's made it.
Maybe he's not too much balloons, bro. I don't know.
Yeah, that whole balloon stuff was.
That's why he's breathing so heavy.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And Gray's, like I said, he's still a kid, and I think we're putting too much pressure on this kid. For me, you know what I mean. Like I said, this guy loses balls. I mean, like I said, I haven't really watched him properly, but from what I've heard, this guy loses a lot of balls and like a lot of possession. And yeah, he can go and get it back. But sometimes when you're playing the top teams, that's going to be very, very crucial. You know what I mean? And again, I'll go back to what I said before, right? You need experience next to this guy. You need experience next to Berval. That is players that actually won. Yeah, Berval is not that. Basuma is not that guy. I'm sorry. I could deal with Bentancur at a point, but it's funny. It's funny now that he's flavour of the month now, because a couple of weeks ago he wasn't flavour of the month, wasn't he? Now Basuma's not flavour of the month now, isn't it? You know what I mean?
But isn't that more knee jerk, Mr. Boss? Like, for people have knee jerk opinions.
It sounds like Spurs fans all to a T.
That's fair.
It sounds like Spurs fans to a T, because this guy was out the door. I was hearing people that he's out the door.
No, that's fair. I heard people were saying, "Oh, we should," and I said, "Yeah." So it's not even just that. They started making up ideas in their head as to why he shouldn't be playing, and my logic was, we can't run a crash. Do you know what I mean? As in, like,
that's the point. You said, like, on another channel to me, like, Jay, you said to me, we can't have too many youngsters in our team.
Yeah.
When was the perfect time last season to do this? Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
I can see your logic in what you're trying to do with Basuma and what is it, Archie Gray?
Yeah.
But I think unfortunately for me at the moment, I think Berval's got a little bit more over him. I've got to be honest. Right? Yeah. Because he can see. But
the thing is, Mr. Bossov, is playing Berg. So I'm saying there's going to be two midfielders. Yeah. I don't classify Bergvall as one of those two types of midfielders. So I'd say Sarr, Bentancur, Gray, Basuma. Those four will take those two of those roles. And I see Bergvall competing with Kulu and Maddison further forward, because I think in everything that you're saying, I think it's a lot to put Bergvall in an 8 position.
Yeah, I hear you. But at the moment, I've got to be honest, like, the midfielders that we've got, and this is why I say at the moment I'm very concerned about our midfield. We've got mediocre midfielders at the moment.
You think so?
We have got mediocre midfielders at the moment. Other than Maddison, right? Who I do agree he's been mediocre as well since he had his injury. But I think the point made by Sava, he's got too many players around him. Many players around him, and he's not able to be that number 10. Because he's been told to, and he hasn't got that space to actually be a number 10.
No, but yeah, and you're not wrong. But the point I'd push back on is that I don't think our midfield. Well, even if you think it's mediocre, the players' age profiles mean that the players are going to get better. So you'd have to say it's mediocre now, currently, as in because we expect these players to develop and get better. Therefore, you can't just say it's mediocre. Period. Do you know what I mean? Because Gray, Bergvall,
we've been mediocre.
No, but
part of the season we were mediocre.
No, but that's my point. As in, like, are you saying that Gray, Bergvall, Sarr aren't high-level prospects? As in, they shouldn't improve?
Well, at the moment, we don't know. Sorry, one season in Championship, bruv.
I need to interject slightly. I think we need to change the language with our club.
Here we go.
It's not mediocre. They're not on form. If Basuma was playing at the top of his game, he's arguably one of the best.
Oh, it's mediocre. He's only had 10 games.
No, Madders proved, because Arsenal fans shake their bum violently for Odegaard. Madders proved when he's on job, when he's on form, he's better than Odegaard.
You know what?
Who challenged the title?
Pape Sarr showed us last season, if on job and everything is sourcing right, he's better than Basmati. Our midfield is good. They're just not on form.
Yeah, Deji, a good example of this is Onana. If you watch Onana play, that's basically Sarr with a little bit more seasoning. Like if you watch how he plays and how he passes the ball and what he can do and his attributes, basically people are saying go and buy this £55 million player or £50 million player when you have somebody, and I guess this is what, if you want to develop, like I don't think Spurs are trying to develop every youngster. They've selected X level of youngsters and saying we're going to try and elevate you guys, and that's going to be important. And I think the thing is that like I don't think Bentancur is a mediocre player. I think he's a good to very good player.
Bo, you wouldn't be saying that, Bo. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Deji. Stop saying change the language, Bob. I'm going to be straight up with you, bro. If you're happy with this, just be happy with 6th or 7th, then, bro.
I go.
Be happy with 6th or 7th.
No, I'm just saying.
If you're going to start saying that, no. If we're going to do this, if we're going to start having this conversation right now,
are you doing an isolation? Are you doing this in isolation though?
Because that's exactly what you just said right now. No.
No, but are you doing it in isolation, Mr. Box Office?
But Jay, let me ask him a question. If Arsenal's midfield were at the peak of their powers and Spurs midfield were at the peak of their powers, who's the better midfield?
Arsenal, because they're proven.
Are you drunk, bro? Come on, bro.
Come on, Deji.
No,
I don't know, man. I don't know. Arsenal.
Maddison or Odegaard at the peak of their powers?
Bro, Odegaard is smoking bloody Maddison right now, bro.
Odegaard.
Who's gone for the championship, bro? It's there on point. I'm sorry. If we're doing this right now, we're going to be doing this right now, I go on what we saw last season and last season before. Who was going for the title last season? Arsenal. So don't even go with me, bro. We're not even doing this right now.
Right, but Mr. Box Office, right? So my thing is that obviously you look at these players, and to me they're good players. Some of the players aren't necessarily the right players for the system. You see a Højbjerg. Højbjerg to me is a good player. I don't care what people say. When I watch the player, he is a good footballer. Not necessarily for what we want to do right now, but I think there's a number of good teams in world football he comfortably play for. So when I'm saying like to you, I think that teams evolve. Like teams change a lot. You look at the midfield that Arteta inherited. You look at the midfield that Pep inherited. You look at the midfield that Klopp inherited. And there's players in those teams that at the time fans thought were good players, and they get rotated out, and new, better players, better fitting players come in. It's an evolution. I don't think you throw the baby out of the bathwater and say these players are crap or they're mediocre. They can be playing mediocre. They can be in mediocre form. I do not co-sign that they're mediocre players.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. But the thing is that I can take my mind off being a Spurs fan. And by the way, Ashmatic, I just want to try something new today. Yeah, I'm not triggered by the comment. I just want to ask the question because I want to try and make convince me out of this idiot in the chat. Steve T. Yeah, right. He says I'm negative. Why am I negative? What is the football reason why I am negative? Tell me a football reason why you don't agree with me. Rather than say I'm negative because you've just made yourself look like an idiot because you've got personal with me. Yeah, rather than actually give me a football opinion why I've made that opinion, you've just said I'm negative. Give me a reason for a football reason why I'm negative, then come back to me, bro. Yeah?
Can I jump in? I think obviously football is like tribalistic, so people are very touchy when it comes to talking about, their players, their clubs, etc. And they think if you're not talking in a positive light about a certain player, and we do it all the time, like I remember like there were some fans, they were really positive about Neto. And then when Neto never got signed, all of a sudden Neto was a rubber.
Neto is shit,
don't need him. He's going to waste himself at Chelsea, blah, blah, blah. So you could perceive those fans as being negative. Do you know what I'm saying? All it is that people have different opinions, different takes. And a lot of fans were quite upset with Maddison last season, saying Maddison didn't show the same form that he did in the first 10 games. I've got a really big point, and I've been holding the point back, but I'll reveal it for you guys today. Like because you know me, I was very early on my Maddison evaluation. Do you remember? I was talking to you about him, and I was saying there's certain things I didn't like about his profile and his personality that the other fans didn't even mention. Now they're mentioning it, but at the time, no one had brought it up. I have a theory about Maddison, and my theory is we actually quite closely follow Arsenal
terms of Arsenal's development. If you look at how Arsenal have been, we're quite close. I have this thing that's inside me that started to grow where I watch Maddison play and I'm like, this guy is quality. This guy is good. Is he turning into our Ozil? Because when I watch us play with Bergvall and I watch us play with Maddison, Bergvall plays like Maddison 4 years ago. Maddison didn't always used to play like this. If you go back and watch him at Leicester when he first got it, when they beat us 2-1, do you remember when Son was a millimetre offside and that would have put us 2-0 and it was one of Poch's last games? That game, Maddison scored a late screamer. That game, yeah, he was playing in a certain way, and it's like it's a bit like, and I don't want to project, but like me, yeah, when I was playing football, yeah, I used to play as a striker, right? A little bit later on in my career, I kind of fancied myself as a bit of a creative 8, creative 10. You know, I'd get on the pitch, I'd slow the game down because I'm trying to showcase my abilities and qualities. Yeah, I'm looking for space. I'm not fighting to compete in that small space and being creative. And then I'll drop to the halfway line because there's more space to play there. Do you see what I mean? And I noticed some of these characteristics in Maddison when I see this. To me, I'm like, okay, we're going to have different profiles next season. He's going to have a Solanke. He's going to have this. But nobody can watch Bergvall in the 10 and watch Maddison in the 10 and not see that we play much faster with Bergvall.
Can I jump in a little second and then I'll let Michael come in afterwards, straight off. I haven't heard you for a while, Michael. And I want to say there was a point where Maddison came back from injury and he did not look the same to me. And obviously he took a while to get up to speed. But even when he did get up to speed, he still wasn't the same Maddison that we saw in the first 10 games. And I thought for a large part of the games he was playing, he had either Ben Davies beside him in that half space, or he had Emerson Royale, who's not very comfortable at getting on a half turn and then driving that players the same way as your doggy is. I heard Maddison say in the interview, like, I'd often look for your doggy because I know he's comfortable on a half turn. I'm always looking for him. Do you know what I mean? And so I'm starting to think, is that part of the reason why you're starting to see Maddison drop off in certain areas? Also, I felt like he needed to be a bit more, it sounds weird, but I felt like he needed to be a bit more brave because I wanted to see Maddison carrying the ball a lot more and just saying, like, I'm the man. I'm going to take up the field. Yeah. Be assertive and I'm going to grab the game by the scruff of the neck. A bit like when you saw, and I know a lot of people don't like him, Lo Celso against Man City. Lo Celso, sometimes he said, you know what, I'm not going to pass it to these midfielders or I'm not going to pass it to these inverted fullbacks or these wingers. I'm going to pick the ball up and I'm going to drive at City. Do you know what I'm saying? And he said, look, I'm the main man. I'm the big bollocks. Do you know what I'm saying? And I thought with Maddison, I need to see that side of him. I need to see him do more in the game. And then the Maddison I saw at Leicester, he used to pop shots outside.
Bro, that's what I'm trying to say is Maddison never shoots outside the box. Like the thing with a low block here, you can mix it by crosses, you can mix it by movement, you can mix it by long shots. And the one thing that we don't do against low blocks, we don't take shots. Yeah, we never take speculative shots. We never let the ball ricochet. Like, so to me, when I'm and by the way, Trotter, I'm not trying to say Maddison and Ozil have ever been the same level. What I'm trying to say is when Arteta's project started going in a certain direction, the skill set he was requiring, the running, all of a sudden, and Ozil looked like he wasn't the best option for that. And then there was a bit of a messy divorce. I'm not saying that Maddison is our Ozil in that context. I'm saying that I'm starting to see things where Maddison to me is being a guy who can play well in the team, but like Ash said, he's not grabbing the game. I can't remember like the last time where I'm like, he's the best player on the pitch. And as a vice captain, as one of the most senior players, maybe I'm asking for more from him than our youngsters. But that, I guess that energy, that wanting to be like, he doesn't play free to me at the moment. He's not playing off the cuff. He's not playing. He's just not playing like the guy that came. You know, the guy that wants to be the main man at Sunday
10.
dinner. He's not
That's
that
why I
guy.
said he hasn't got enough space.
Yeah.
That's why I
But
say that he doesn't.
I want to get Michael's opinion on this box. I haven't heard his view on this whole Maddison debacle and midfield, because obviously Ange is looking for another 8, someone that does a little bit more. Like Gallagher was linked with us really closely, and he's a different profile to a Maddison, in my opinion. He's someone that's more like aggressive from front-footed, high up. So you know how we want a 6 to sit and defend those spaces. I think Gallagher goes searching for it. He kind of presses after the strikers. He's the next one in line, try to win that ball high up. So it's a different profile to Maddison. But anyway, I digress. Michael, what was your thoughts on the Maddison issue?
First of all, quickly to the Lord Rodney guy, right? I think you find it hard to understand, but what Jay means is not the skill of Maddison compared to Ozil, it's the character and the role in the team, right? Because we are going on that, you know, it's ridiculous to compare Maddison to Ozil. Nobody is comparing Maddison to Ozil in terms of skill, right? It's about the character and about the role in the team, right? But with Maddison himself, right? I think, I honestly think we are kind of crowding him out, even with the point that you guys mentioned about like Porro and Udogie being more comfortable on the ball and you know, it being easier to play with them, right? I still think there is not much space for Maddison to operate in. And that is, for me, combined with the fact that he himself wasn't playing up to a standard, especially after, like, you know, not counting the first like 10 to 12 games or whatever, right? After that spell, when he got injured and he came back, I think he wasn't playing up to the standard he set himself at the beginning of the season. So it's really hard because, like, you guys mentioned Lo Celso, right? When we played against City and how well he played that game and the fact that he drove with the ball. But you also have to take into consideration we had much less of the ball and we weren't camped outside of the box, right? Of Manchester City, we were catching them on the break more often, right? And we had more opportunities and more space to run into, right? So it's really strange with Maddison because, like, he's catching a lot of slack, right, from the fan base. Yeah. And I agree that some of it is, like, rightfully so, right? Some of it he deserves. But I also think it's not entirely up to him, right? It's also some of the instructions that we are getting from the coaching staff. And it's up to the coaching staff to find a solution, right? Because I don't think Maddison is like a world-class, you know, center attacking midfield that he's, you know, one of the best in the world. But I think he's a bloody good player, bloody good quality player that can score goals from range, that can distribute the ball, that can drive with the ball. He's good at dribbling. He's good at drawing a lot of fouls, right? But we need to get the best out of him. So sometimes, like, the coaching staff should adapt what we are trying to do on the pitch to suit a guy like him, right? Because he's one of the best players that we have in this team, right?
Michael, can I quickly ask you a question? Because as you're talking, I'm thinking, does anyone on the panel think Maddison has a bit of an identity crisis in terms of how he plays? What I mean by that is, like, to me, there's a difference between being a guy that runs the game and a moments player. Yeah,
I think you summed it up perfectly. Moments player.
I think and I think he needs to lean into being a moments player and being decisive in those minutes rather than trying to run the game.
I want Deji to answer that. Deji, what's your thoughts on that comment that Jay just made?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I had never considered that because I kind of felt like Maddison was at his best when he was running things. The first 10 games, he was the guy. You know what I mean? And I know you're talking about the change and the moments player. I also think, you know, Michael's point and Jay's point, it's the inverted, it's the whole overcrowding. But bloody hell, mate, he came back and had to play with Timo Werner on the left-hand side. Even me, if I saw Timo Werner, I'd be looking straight back at the tunnel, like, bloody hell, or even at the bench. Is there anyone else that you can find that can save me? And football, you know, Jay, you played, you were a striker. The biggest thing that you need as a player is what? Trust of your fellow player, yeah? On your left and on your right. And I'm not being funny. But let's just be real. When he came back, he had Timo Werner and Brennan Johnson. I don't trust either of them. And I think Maddison comes back to form when Son is out on the left properly. I know it hasn't quite clicked yet, but also the points that people have been making in the chat, we haven't had a number 9. Solanke now is going to provide another decoy option. He's actually going to be occupied, because we weren't occupying centre-backs. Yeah? Which meant taking. Now they're going to be occupied with Solanke. What does that do? It creates space for the likes of Maddison. And the reason why we brought Solanke was when we were getting the early run in, Richarlison was missing bloody sitters. We know those opportunities with Solanke, it goes in. So actually, I think Postecoglou is fixing it. We just got to take time.
Yeah, but the problem is he's got the winger. It's the winger problem. I agree with you. By the way, big up to you, Deji and Jay. By the way, because you know what, I have respect for you, regardless whether I get passionate or not. You always turn up for a debate any day of the week, unlike some people. But anyway, moving on. I'll give you credit on that one all day long. And Jay, you made some very good points earlier, by the way. But yeah,
a broken clock is right twice a day, eh?
Yeah, I know. Don't get too big-headed. Don't get used to it. But the point is, and big up Michael as well. But the point is, it's like I think you made the point so brilliantly there, Digi. The winger situation is just is where I can't, and I don't know where this right wing is coming from. I don't know where this right wing is coming from, because he's brought in Valise, that is back on loan, right? He's got Solomon, where we don't know where we're going with him. We've got Johnson, who's you just described, bang average. Werner, don't even get me started. We've got this Korean winger that is supposed to be Song's replacement. So, and Kulusevski, don't even get me started on him. You know what I mean?
It's interesting. Go on, carry on. Sorry.
But the only plus point I've got at the moment is, and I'm still skeptical because I think he needs to hit the ground running, is Solanke, because at least you've got somebody that is got competent to hold up that flipping ball and make a nuisance of himself. I actually agree with Deji. And I actually agree with bloody Jay on this one.
What guys? If we got a right winger, is there like a right winger you guys seen and you're like, all right, cool. So like at the moment, I'm hearing a lot of like Babiako, Johan Babiako from PSG. And
Bakayoko. What was that malfunction?
Yeah, Bakayoko. So, but basically, also rumors are ringing off about Adingra. I said that right, yeah. Right.
The name police are in the chat. Okay, act accordingly.
Niger boy. It looks like he might need some cow foot or something, but you might see some powdered yam. I don't know. He looks a bit slight, Adingra from Brighton. But yeah, what are your thoughts? Who would you guys want to see at right wing? Because obviously I brought up a right winger earlier.
These names, though, they're starting to get like we're getting to a point where I'm like, you know what? Let me just go with what I like. The names are not. This is what we do, yeah. And I know people want transfers. I want transfers. I want us to buy wingers, but you can't look at these names, and most of them don't look. They look like they need more C's. Like Conceição, no. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, not for me. You've got to look at someone like an Mbuemo, and it's like he's not the right profile. Yeah, but he's a good player.
Is it because he's more of a wide forward than an out and out winger? Because some people say they want an out and out winger that hugs the touchline.
I think we need to play more slowly. Like, so basically, we are too direct. Yeah, it's constantly attack back, attack back, attack.
Wouldn't you say that comes from the midfield though? Wouldn't you say like a midfielder is the one to control the game and slow it down and control the tempo? And wouldn't you say then that in that sense, then you need a 6, maybe someone?
No, but I'm saying that basically, if how you play and you're saying get the ball forward, or like we're trying to do counter pressing, we're trying to me, you get an organic, natural ball retention with a player who dribbles in a certain kind of way. So when I look at Neto and Eze and stuff, they dribble in a certain kind of way. Yeah. For example, Bakayoko doesn't dribble like that. He's still quite direct. So it's like,
in my opinion.
exactly. So if you want to get Bakayoko, I'd literally say go get Noni Madueke. Because I'd be like, Madueke is Bakayoko with a little bit more seasoning and has played in the Prem. And he might be homegrown.
And literally, he replaced him from PSV. Say that again, Deji. Say again.
He's Madueke with Maggie Cube. Sorry, that was just.
That's what I'm saying, bro. That's what I'm saying, bro. And that's the point. Like, I think fans I saw fans were getting excited for Adingra. I said, what?
Brighton will see us.
Can I throw a Postecoglou spanner though? Can I throw a Postecoglou spanner? And I'm looking directly at Michael because I think Michael, you're going to agree with me on this. I can see Pedro Porro playing the right hand side. I think he can do that.
Oh, Mr. Box Office
with a Jed Spence, maybe at right back. You know,
I think we should try it.
He can play that role, and I don't know why we can't. If we don't get it, I don't think it's a disaster. I just think we have to be a bit more creative with the players we have. It suits Pedro Porro down to the T. I'm almost thinking. I
don't think he's
we're
got
doing
the
an
coaching.
injustice on Porro playing Porro at right back.
I don't think he's got the coaching ability to even think about that though.
You know, by the way,
if that was Pochettino or Eddie Howe, boom, straight away thinking about it, straight away done. But at the moment, I've got no idea because it's taking him how long to figure out that Van der Ven's a left back. Yeah. He can play left back.
Hey, Mike, before I bring you in, because I know you're itching, I'm just going to, because we spoke about midfielders and the chat earlier was talking about Locatelli. I don't know what your guys' thoughts on Locatelli is, but I'm going to bring him up because, I feel like it's the one that's debatable. I feel it's debatable. Locatelli obviously played at Juventus. He's at Juventus at the moment. So transfer market saying 28 million. He's 26 years old, 27 in Jan. He's over 6 foot, Italian international, but did miss out on the Euros. Played for Sassuolo, under my man that used to play at Brighton. I forgot his name now.
De
Zerbi, that's it. Here we go. And also played at AC Milan as well. It came through the academy. Defensive midfielder he can play, and central midfielder he can play. But some people arguing, is he a DM? I don't really know. Played in a 3-5-2, and he had Weston McKennie and Rabiot playing in between him in that midfield. So played in the 3 technically, but yeah, we've been linked with him heavily. There's his heat map, and you can see like in the opposition half is quite busy, but also in his own half, defensive half, is quite busy as well there as well. Here's his stats. I know not everyone's a fan of stats, but this is the stats from last season. And I think that thing that stands out for me is progressive passing. And we've mentioned that already earlier on in the show where we're talking about different profiles. Bissouma being a dribbler, Pape Sarr being a carrier, Bentancur and Archie Gray more of a passing type. Maybe he suits this profile a bit more as a player that plays a further back. I compared him with Fofana, who's linked to Manchester United and AC Milan. I compared him to Pape Sarr, Gomez, Bissouma, and Bentancur. But that's just looking at his shots. And some of these goals throughout his career, I've just showed some of the highlights. So showing his striking ball ability that he can do it. And if he's in the right position, he can hit the ball from distance. Hits it quite cleanly here, but it's not his forte as a deep line.
Sorry, Ash. Just to confirm, what is his position? Is he a number 8?
Defensive midfielder. I'll bring it back a bit. Let's bring it back, right back. Defensive midfielder. Can you see it there?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's his position there. So I know I just showed some of his goal threats because I just thought, as
why
a midfielder, why not? Basically. But yeah, that's how his shooting ability is, his ball striking ability. But obviously, you're not looking for a 6 for their goals or for their attacking. But in an Ange system, you might need to, you know what I'm saying? You might need to strike the ball every now and then. But yeah, here's some of his goals, as you can see. But yeah, moving on from the actual goals, we've got his dribbling stats and successful dribbles from last season compared to Pape Sarr, Bentancur. I actually put Bentancur's better season for that one. just in case you're thinking. João Gomez of Wolves, Yves Bissouma and Yusuf Fofana, they do more successful dribbles last season. However, as an actual percentage, when he does actually dribble, he's good at it. So 68.4% of dribbles he actually completes, which is super high. Maybe in the team he's playing, he's asked to do different things, and maybe that's why he's not dribbling as much. In terms of ball carrying, he's third, just behind Bissouma. And we know how talented Bissouma is in terms of carrying the ball and dribbling. Again, ball received, Bissouma's quite good, good control. And he's got that. Here he is pirouetting out of a position. Here he is for Italy, protecting the ball, carrying the ball, doing a step over, finding the pass, protecting the ball between 2-3 players, shielding it, doing little kick-ups there just to take it away from players, bringing it high up. Again, just dribbling them. And this was at Sassuolo. And the De Zerbi, he asks his midfielders to do different things. Here he's at Juventus as well, demonstrating that against Chelsea. Again, against Juventus. And here's some of his passing stats. So his passing stats, he's top in terms of medium passes. Short passes, not bad. They're not bad at all. 19.6%. So he's third in terms of short passing. And then I've highlighted also his long passing. Long passing is where his strengths are. So you can see he attempts a lot more than Fofana, Bissouma, Sarr, João Gomez, and Bentancur. His stats are way higher, and he completes a lot as well, 71.3%. Considering he attempts 363, 259 passes, he actually completes. So that's really high for long passing. Key passes as well, meaning he's the pass before the assist. He's right up there as well. Passing in the final third, 229. He's the best out of all those midfielders right there as well. And here's some of his passing range. As you can see, balls over the top into the box. You can imagine some of our midfielders running onto it, or Solanke. Switches of players. You can see the outside of the boot there. Passes into the final third, carrying the ball, and then hitting that pass into the channels, picking his head up, and then first time slicing the ball across his boot. Little link-up play there, and then passing it back to the keeper. Again, out of trouble, playing out from the back. He's able to be composed, getting to the byline, passing it back. And he's always got that kind of that ball where he hits it over the top. He's got great technique in finding that ball over the top into the front line, which I think is really good. Again, some more incidents before he was playing Juventus. He's had it in his locker from early, just playing passes into the box, passes into feet with pace. And he just adds something a little bit different to what we have. We don't have too many players that have that kind of long ball passing attributes. Tackles and interceptions. You've got João Gomez, Bissouma, and Fofana ahead of him, but he's not too far behind Fofana. I know a lot of people dunk on he's Bissouma, but you can see how important he is to Spurs in terms of tackling and interceptions. In terms of other teams or other players, you've got Edison, who a lot of people wanted, and Bruno Guimaraes, who everyone rates as a 6. He's third in this list, ahead of Zhegrova, Mendy, Lamia from Bayern Munich, and Benessa from AC Milan, all players that play in that kind of 6 or defensive midfielder role. Tackle percentage, I wanted to see how much he wins his tackles in his duels. Just behind Bentancur and behind Bissouma. Obviously, Bissouma is quite good at tackling as well as a percentage. And recovery pace. I think this is the thing where needs to be looked at a little bit more. Now, I felt like Bissouma's recovery runs aren't as good, and I think that's where he lets himself down. Bentancur is on par with him in terms of when we lose the ball and a back, he has to have his back to the opposition's goal, running back to our goal. How effective are they at recovering, defending the ball? Papa Sarr, he's ahead of him as well, but not as good as maybe João Gomez or Fofana in that metric. Again, defending I'm showing here. He's going to ground here, slide tackling, winning, but he's not afraid to get his boots dirty. He's not afraid to get mud on his shirt or on his shorts. But yeah, winning the ball up, being aggressive, front-footed, winning the ball, and then recycling it to his teammates, win that ball high up. Something you associate with a defensive midfielder, just helping the team out, being aggressive in the channels, in the midfield.
Can I just say, Ashley, this is a sensational presentation, but this reminds me, like, if you want McDonald's and your mum says you've got rice at home. I'm like, we've got Bentancur at home. I'm watching this compilation, and it's not bad. I just see Bentancur. I'm like,
I'm not gonna lie. When I was making it, I actually saw Bentancur as well.
Yeah.
100% real, and that's why I got the stats up to compare what he was better at than Bentancur. And for me, the passing range, in terms of long passing, I think that's where he edges Bentancur. But
Bentancur feels a little faster, like in his movements when he's on form. His movements, his interactions seem faster.
All right, but to caveat that, it's obviously ever since Bentancur's had that ACL, that injury to the knee, he hasn't demonstrated for
just that Villa 30 minutes.
Right, exactly. So this is the caveat, and that's why maybe we are looking for a midfielder just in case Bentancur doesn't work out. Aerial headers as well, and we're talking about set pieces quite a bit. 63.4%. That's really high in terms of winning the ball in the air. I think that's even better than Dom. I'll be real. So
that is good.
You know what? The last bit I had metric was his actual minutes, and he had quite a lot of minutes. That's all. Yeah. That was my last caveat. But guys, what do you think about Locatelli? Is it for you? Do we need him? Could he improve the squad?
I look at. You go on, Ash. Go on, Ash.
No, that's it. What do you think?
I look at it like this, right? We need experience, because if you're gonna have Archie Gray there, if you're gonna have Birdbow there, you need someone who's won, who's won and who's got that guy that can look up to. Now, the only thing I have a problem with at the moment is what is his personality like? You know what I mean? Because I haven't really heard too much about him since his was it the Euros? I think it was Euros, wasn't it?
He had a bang in Euros, didn't he, a couple of years ago?
Yeah, and I think, I mean, if you want to, because I think we need someone like a Jorginho that Arsenal have got at the moment, but obviously he's going, he's going into a little bit, that experience.
I just also Jorginho's got the legs though for a system like Ange.
That's the thing. I just
recovery runs.
More like experience and seniorship, right, or something like that.
You want like the leadership in the chamber.
Yeah, that's the thing, because I think like what Michael's saying, it's like, for me, I think that is what you would bring. I do agree with what Jay's saying though. He looks like more like Bentancur, but unfortunately Bentancur, even though he was growing on me a little bit last season, right? And he has got a little bit more about him, that thing, but I don't look at him like people looking at him say, the young players looking at him saying, yeah, you inspire me. You know what I mean? You really, I can follow you. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that, and I think if we're going to go down this youth route that we're looking at doing at the moment, which I don't know what we're doing because no one's explained what we're doing, the board, but we don't want to go there. But the point is, if we're going down that route, I think Locatelli might be, I'm not saying he's an option, but I would go similar to that sort of ilk, or Jorginho, or, you know what I mean? That's what I'm looking at the moment, and that's why I would bring him in. But if it's money, I don't know about it. You know what I mean? But each to their own. What else? Anybody else got anything to say?
So you know what the biggest issue we have right now is? The space in the squad and the fact that we don't have homegrown, like club-trained players, right? I think this is the biggest issue, because you also connected to the question that you asked, right, about the right wingers. I kid you not, there is plenty of right wingers I think would suit the system and would suit what we want to achieve, or what we are looking for in a player, right? The issue is we don't have the squad space to fill those guys in, right? Because we only have at this moment 3 club-trained players, which are Skip, Austin, and Whiteman, which we have to register those 3 guys, right? I mean, you can register 25 players, right? 4 of them have to be club-trained, 4 of them have to be homegrown, so association-trained, not necessarily by our club, and 17 foreigners, right? So the 17 spots are already filled, right? And the 4 association trained spots are also filled, right? Technically, we only have 1 space left, right? And which that space is for a homegrown player, which which I think is the reason why we are getting linked with like Madueke and the Sporting winger.
Walker Peters and Edwards, Marcus Edwards.
Oh yeah, Marcus Edwards, right? I think this is the reason why we are getting linked back to those guys, because like if you want to buy a guy like, and because you asked for examples, right? I think Nico Gonzalez from Fiorentina is quite a good winger, and he wouldn't be that expensive, right, compared to some other guys. But if we bring him in, then we have to fuck someone off, right, from the squad.
Yeah,
we have to like get rid of Kulusevski or get rid of.
And that's what I was going to ask as well. Sorry to interrupt you. If you had to get rid of one star player from the starting 11, who would that be? Like, if you're in that kind of, we had to get one to bring one in. Like, what would you do?
I mean, technically, right now we have Solomon registered, right, for the squad from the 25. So we can bin him off for a right winger.
Well, I'm saying, I know we could bin him off, but I'm saying that at the starting 11, if we had to get rid of a big player that could command a fee that we could actually get real solid money in for, like out of the starting 11, who would that be? Do you know what I'm saying? Because I agree, Solomon, you might be able to get 10 mil. 5 mil.
If we had to, like, so you can't get rid of Solanke, right? I don't think we should sell Son, his experience and all that stuff, right? I still have faith in Kulusevski. I know many people are lost on him, and I'm willing to concede that, rightfully so. You know, many people lost faith, but I still have something in me. But like from the forward line, I think the quickest I would get rid of is Richarlison, of course. I think if I honestly don't have much faith with Richarlison, and I also don't think he necessarily suits what we need of a striker, right? I think he's not physically strong enough, and he's not good enough at the hold up play to help us score goals on a regular basis, right? I think he's a bit of a patchy player. Like, kudos to him, he saved our asses in like this December, January period where we didn't have Son. He was on the Asia Cup, right? Kudos to him. I congratulate him for scoring those 11 goals, right? But it was kind of a purple patch. So I think that he would be the first guy that I would look to get rid of, right? Which I know like can be controversial with some opinions, right? But it's honestly because I started talking about wingers, but it's the same thing with the midfielders, right? I really like Locatelli. I think he would provide necessary depth, experience, and all that stuff, right? The issue is if we bring him in, then we have to bin someone off, right? So I think that's why we are getting linked with guys like Jacob Ramsey, which absolutely infuriates me because Villa will skin us for him and he's average as fuck, right? But we need homegrown players. We need to fill those quotas because unfortunately someone set the rules and we need to follow the rules, right?
Yeah.
So it's really strange because like if you gave clubs free reins and basically tell them you can sign whoever you want, right? I guarantee you most clubs wouldn't have English players in the squad, right?
Yeah.
Because you can always find someone, outside of England.
There's one player though for me though that does suit the system. It's highly unlikely we would get that player, but I think it would work. So first and foremost, just to say, I would rather sell Kulusevski than Richarlison. I was not convinced. But I think what the player we've been asking for is a Lavia. I think if we had a Lavia, he actually ticks all the boxes. He's got the strength, the speed, the dynamism. That's what we're looking for. A Lavia in our midfield actually covers what we need.
Deji, I love you, but I've got to say, what if we swap Lavia for Bazuma? What is actually changing? Like, what is that? Because I've seen Lavia play, and defensively, he ain't any more switched on than Bazuma. Like, do you know what I mean? As in, I watch Southampton. I watch it. His defensive awareness. He's pretty good in the tackle. He can read the game, but in the little games, the smaller games they were playing, people run off him just like they run off Bazuma. People find space in his area. He doesn't dominate his zone. I think that with the Lavia, you have very similar issues to what you have with Bazuma, albeit with a higher ceiling.
You know what it is as well with Lavia? He does try when I saw him at Southampton, good ball carrier, excellent dribbler. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, hard worker defensively. But yeah, Jay is right. Switching on, like, that's a problem. I feel like it's a problem for some of these players that are quite good ball carriers and dribblers. They're good with the ball, but without the ball, they don't know where to be tactically on a pitch, where to be positionally. Do you know what I'm saying? When they vacate that position,
it's why Rice is so good as a DM. It's because he knows where to be. Like his positioning, Paulinho, Rice, their positioning is very good.
It's
I think he's had experienced players next to him to learn to nurture him. That's the thing. I think that's the difference at the moment. If you're a young player that's got potential, that and it looks like Basuma. When I look at Basuma, I think if he had an experienced man next to him, sorry to interrupt you, Jay, because you were on a good point.
No, go on. No, dive in.
Person next to him, like that could just like Roy Keane saying, "No, son, you ain't made it yet. No. There's none of this malarkey you're doing at the moment. You've got a lot of work to do, son. You know what I mean? And trust me, because I've won this. You get what I'm saying? It makes a huge
100%.
difference. Huge difference. That's why you see more Man United players succeeding at Manchester United than Man City, because who they learning off.
Guys, sorry to switch it as well. What do you think about this Leicester game coming up? Because obviously that's fast approaching. Does anyone think like, it could be a potential banana skin? Or
if it is,
shouldn't come in,
bro. Like it can't be. If it's a banana skin, this is one of the worst sides we're going to play this season. Yeah, I cannot go into the season believing that one of the worst sides that we're going to play this season is going to give us trouble. If they do, we're in for a long season. Yeah, because it's like, so I'm coming in with not positivity like ridiculous. I'm just saying, listen, we wiped a lot of the promoted teams last season. It was quite comfortable for us playing them. Some of the games were slightly more, like a Luton game. We missed lots of chances, but in the general coverage of the game, we were very much like, I feel like certain games are gonna benefit us. I think it's a good time to put a statement down. I was watching some of Kulu's best moments, and I was seeing he used to be cash money on that cut onto left foot cross into the box. And then you look, we used to have Kane. We used to, like, even when Richie was playing central, I think I'm looking at Leicester to see positive habits. Like it's going to be the first time we're going to see the whole team together all preseason. Like literally we haven't played a full first team. And I think that I remember when I looked at Arsenal's team, when they bought Zinchenko and Jesus, the team went up a level. And I'm hoping for us, we've missed the second person, because I was thinking if we bought Neto and Solanke, that's the level raiser. That's us going up a level specifically with those two players plugging into last season's team. So now with just the one player in Solanke, I still think you guys made a lot of good points about him stretching the line and movement, and even like that Kulusevski cut-in cross, he can hit that with Solanke. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in, like, we're gonna have someone who's like, when you watch Aston Villa and you like how Ollie Watkins plays, we're gonna have a guy who's gonna be chasing it down channels, making it uncomfortable, dragging the centre backs into bad areas. So I'm hoping that has a material impact on the team positively, that allows other players more space and time to do their game. So at the moment, it's very theoretical, because I literally haven't seen the team play together this preseason. So I'm hoping, but I think some of that hope is based on logic.
Yeah, you know what? I agree, man. Against the lesser sides, Spurs, well, the promoted sides especially, we seem to turn up. Maybe because the lesser sides, they don't have the finishing power to kind of capitalize on those chances that we have. I'm going to bring up quickly the team. This isn't the right team, but this is the team that it could be. Go on, Michael. Go on.
Yeah, so because I'm big into like fantasy Premier League, so I keep tabs on on all the teams and the preseason results and all that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And where I agree with all the points about us conceding from like the set pieces and all that stuff, right? I can tell you with a fact that Leicester have been absolutely dog awful in the preseason, right? I think they've been terrible. I think last 3 matches they like lost all 3 of them without scoring a single goal, and 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 the like Vardy's injured and Daka is off form and all that stuff, right? So I do think we will win against Leicester, right? I do give them benefit of the doubt because of like first game, back to the Premier League away, all that stuff. I'm not saying it will be like super easy. We rock up there and smash them 5-0 or something like that, right? But I think we should win that game. But if we don't see like improvements on the previous season, I'm telling you that third game of the season, Newcastle away, that's gonna be a spanking again, because like Newcastle are fully fit pretty much, like, except for like 2 center backs or something, right? And if we don't learn the mistakes that we made, if we don't learn and if we don't fix up, then holy shit, that game will be long, right? Because like we have like what, Leicester away, Everton at home, Newcastle away, Arsenal at home, something like that, right? Off the top of my mind. So like first 2 games, I hope I see improvements, and I hope I see that, someone at this club learned from the mistakes, right? Because I kind of saw it last season with the way that we changed approach, with the way that we put Van der Ven left back. I kind of saw some adapting way too late, right? We all said it was way too late. We should have done many of those adjustments way earlier, right? But they still have like a 2-game buffer zone before like real Premier League kicks in, right? And I don't think there is like more tougher places to go than St. James's on the third game, right? So I'm not necessarily worried with Leicester away, but I am really bloody worried with like third game onwards, right?
Yeah, like I agree, man. I looked at, and anyone could jump in after this, but like box office, I can hear from you as well. But I like, there is concerns. I have concerns. Don't get me wrong about Spurs set pieces, leaving spaces open, getting hit in a counter attack, struggling against low blocks, the right wing situation at times. But as Jay was saying, like against the Leicester, and you would say, Michael, as well, no Vardy, Daka up top. They lost their last 3 games, I think it was, in pre-season. And I think the Leicester fans are really unhappy of the style of play because they got Cooper now in charge. He sets up in a 4-4-2. Do you know what I'm saying? Compared to what Maresco was doing. Do you know what I'm saying? He was doing the whole 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 possession-based football and a bit more expansive, front-footed. So I expect Leicester to show us a lot of respect and kind of sit back. And it's just down to us to kind of break them down and take our chances. But yeah, you could say that we have struggled against those type of teams, and maybe that's a bit of concern. But yeah, I just brought up that the actual what I thought might be the team lineup. You guys could disagree. Do you think that Kulusevski starts on the right because he's been on form this season? He scored like 2 or 3 goals and 2 assists, like that.
Culler's going to start.
Or do you think Johnson will start ahead of?
Culler's got to start. Right? He's been arguably our best player in pre-season, so he gets a place in the team. I think Johnson actually has been a bit lackluster in the last couple of friendlies. So I think
very kind.
I'm a Johnson guy, so like I say, it's one of those.
Very, very kind to him. I think he's been bang average as far as I'm concerned. But
Mr. Box Office, bang average is like a term of endearment from you at this point.
It's not an endearment. It just shows you that this guy's just got no quality at all, bro. I'm sorry, but the guy can't even get past. I mean, I think that's even more kind that you're saying that Kulusevski's our best player. Honestly, I don't know where we're going with this. Like I said, Poro's trouncing him all day long.
Okay, so my thing, and I've been thinking about this Brennan Johnson thing, and I'm like, do I like? I'm like, first of all, right, how many right-footed right wingers are there in world football? So I start with that point straight away, and I'm like, what am I looking for? I looked at some Aaron Lennon comps the other day, and I was like, Aaron Lennon would be one of the best wingers in the world in this era. Yeah, like he literally would, because when I'm looking at Johnson, he's got one trick, which is shift the ball and cross it in. I was actually looking at Theo Walcott, actually, because I was really interested in where Johnson was on Walcott's trajectory. Like, do you know what I mean? In terms of, because Walcott had a very good career, this and that. I remember, like, Walcott had a period when he was electric, and I was like, when did that come? So it was around the 22-year-old, 23-year-old age that Walcott really started to break out, as it were. So with Johnson, I think as a right-footed right winger, aesthetically, if you're not beating your man, he's never going to look good, right? Because it's like if he was a left-footed right winger and he played almost identical, aesthetically it would look a little bit better. Like I think that there's a certain aesthetic to it, but also I think he's not aggressive enough in his duels. I think at the end of last season we saw when he was aggressive, he could do stuff. He was really doing stuff. But yeah, like I think I'm not disagreeing with you, Mr. Box Office. I think he's been somewhat underwhelming, and you've got to, at a certain point, you've got to be able to shoot.
If we're going to defend Johnson, we need to get Bergwijn back then. I'm being honest. I'm being honest with you.
To be fair to Bergwijn,
if we're going to start saying that this Johnson's very good, right? We need to start talking about Bergwijn. We didn't get his flowers. That did more than Johnson's done all day long, right?
Yeah,
against top teams, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily saying Johnson. Like, I think people conflate good and effective. I think for what Ange is wanting from that right winger, he's effective. Yeah, he can be a lot better.
Did you remember what you said earlier? Yeah, moments.
Yeah. Oh, he's definitely so exactly. So if we have Son, who's a moments player, and Johnson, who's a moments player, and Maddison, who's a moments, who the hell is putting their foot on the ball and controlling the game? Yeah. So I've actually realized that Johnson and Son aren't that complementary because they both are quite direct. Do you see what I mean?
I think the problem is, I think you just summed it up perfectly. They're not complementary with each other. No, they're not. Because when you put Harry Kane and Son together, look what happens. When you put Son and Maddison together, look what happens. You get what I'm saying?
I know, I hear it.
Sometimes it's just about. Sometimes it comes from two players that are just. It's about quality, unfortunately, Jay. It comes down to quality. Yeah,
I hear that.
I know we're going away from the. Yeah,
the point you're making is right, and the thing is if you want to say, I don't think Brennan Johnson has the technical quality to reach the level that we need him to be at Tottenham. I'm a logical guy. I'm not going to turn around and say that's bullshit. I'm going to say you may have a point there. I think there's a logic. But when I look at like Anthony, I don't want to say Dirk, but Dirk, I guess Johnson kind of reminds me a bit of Dirk Kuyt. Like, so, you know, with his output, he's contributing to the team. So, you know, facts don't really care about.
People didn't really rate Dirk Kuyt, and then obviously he was okay. Cool, go on.
You see what I mean? Like he was an effective player for Liverpool, but he wasn't rated as a technical player. Yeah, you see what I mean? That's how I feel about John, and I feel like when I look at the player, I understand people's criticisms, but I also think if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's going to think it's stupid. If we're judging Johnson at stuff that he's not good at, because the rest of the team isn't doing what they need to do, then I think that's also a factor. Just as we are overloaded in the middle.
Sometimes, unfortunately, mate, you're saying this, but at the end of the day, sometimes you've got to make it happen.
Of course.
You know what I mean? And unfortunately, these players are too reliant on the system, unfortunately. And like I said, those wingers this is why I was fuming, because Ashmatic done he's been doing a fantastic job with these previews of these players for the last season, and he's done a fantastic job, and he's making our scouting network a mockery. You know what I mean? Because I would take every sort of player, right? Literally, I mean, it summed it up with the Calafiori one. Yeah, you should have seen. I'm not going to mention his name because I know you don't like him, but the guy's one of the guys, right, said face when he saw Calafiori. Yeah, and it's all from Ashmatic's. What you know, I don't know what you call it, Ashmatic, but you have to help me out on this. It's a bit late in the night. Sorry about that. But you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you know, unfortunately, it comes down to quality. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, I'm listen. We should be beating Leicester. To answer the question, we should be beating Leicester, especially what you're saying now. We're not playing the Chelsea manager's Leicester, right?
Yeah,
I forgot his name
Steve
now.
Cooper, right?
Yeah, we're playing, the manager that is in there now. You know what I mean? I would be more worried in our defence if Jamie Vardy was playing though.
Yeah, you know what, guys? So sorry to interrupt everyone, but I reckon. Do you reckon? Does anyone think, if Spurs was to lose to Leicester under the lights on a Monday night, like for whatever reason, like the low block, we couldn't break it down, and then all of a sudden counter attack, their right winger, who I think is actually decent, he's been playing as a front two for Leicester. I forget his name, but is there a world where Leicester nick a win? Yeah. First game in front of their fans, they nick and win 1-0. Do you reckon the board panics at all because it gets a bit toxic from the Spurs fans, or do you think?
I think we buy a player. That's what I mean. Yeah, we buy a player. Like if we lost to Leicester, we would have a new within 48 hours. We would have a new player if we lost to Leicester.
You know what?
Go on.
You know what, Jay? I was exactly going to say that, I was exactly going to say that, I was actually going to say that, because my thoughts. I think he's gone by the end of the season. People say he's going to be gone by December, right?
Yeah.
But you hit the nail on the head. I think as soon as we lose, that transfer activity is going to be like this. It'll be like this. Straight away. It's like, we got to do this.
Inverting the fullbacks. Too high.
Right wing is going to come like that.
Yeah,
trust me, all day long.
He's not Kane.
I know already. Like some people will lose their absolute shit, right? Maybe rightfully so. It's like a newly promoted side, right? But it's just. By the way, Royal got number 22 in Milan. Kaka wore the number, right? So our Brazilian Cafu is getting recognized in Milan, right? But no, in all seriousness, it's like I seriously maybe it's because I'm younger or I'm not a Spurs fan for as long as some of you guys, right?
I've got PTSD and all that. You haven't got that.
Yeah, but I have a lot more patience, right? So even if you lose to Leicester, like I don't think we should be throwing we as a fan base. I'm not talking about the club, right? But we as a fan base, I don't think we should be like losing our shit or whatever, right? Because it's like a greater sides than us have been beaten by newly promoted sides on the opening game week of the season, right? So it's not that big of a deal for me. But
Michael, but what if it's a set piece? And then
trust me, I will lose my shit to
Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, because that's the first thing you said. The set pieces, I can't believe it.
I will lose my shit on set pieces, but I won't lose my shit in general, right? Because like I know like some of the comments will be like, this fucking manager, and this and that, son is shit, sell him, we should have sold him, like, Kulusevski, fuck off, Van de Ven is trash, and I just know how some of parts of this fan base work, right? So I will definitely lose my shit if you consider set piece, right, to Leicester. But it's like, I don't think it's the end of the world if you get caught on a counter and lose 1-0 or something stupid like that, right? It will definitely put pressure on
Everton. Doesn't it put pressure like going against Everton?
It
gave us trouble home and away. I felt. I know we got the victory at home, but I mean, it wasn't plain sailing. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like listen. But by the way, like in Premier League, I don't think there are easy fixtures, right? I know the quality of the teams, like the difference in quality between like Arsenal and Sheffield last season. Of course, it was big. Sheffield is a bad example, okay, but like even Nottingham Forest, right, who finished 17th, right? They are not an easy team to play against.
That's a tricky game.
Say again?
So, Jay,
that's a difficult. Like Forest away is a tricky game.
No. It's Newcastle. Newcastle
No,
away.
but the thing about Newcastle is, I thought we'd learn from getting absolutely smashed up by Newcastle last year. And the problem is that at a certain point, I'm a logical guy. I like to think. So I'll look at this and I'll say, listen, Ange, nobody inverts both fullbacks. Maybe that's for a reason, yeah? Because what you're basically saying is to me, like, you're basically saying, right, and this is the one thing I don't like about this, the formation and the style of play is that basically you let your players get into do or die duels, yeah? Our players, it's not none of our players bar Romero has like an 80% duel rate. Yeah. So that means that let's say if you put your player in 10 duels, let's say Porro has a 55% duel with 60% being nice. 4 times he's gonna get beat by his man. Yeah. So those 4 times something could happen. So my point is that you know, I'm looking at it and I'm not trying to be critical because I'm like, you got to see the pieces of the puzzle. But I also, this is season 2 and the results are important. So if you need to tinker every single game, if you need to get your tactical hat on, Ange, in order for us to win games, then I'm going to need that from you because we're already fighting a losing battle because we've got counter-attack goals off the wing and set pieces. As soon as we concede either of those two, the natives will start getting a little bit restless.
Of course. Some people say, like, just a caveat, I'm not saying I agree with this point, but some people argue that our pressing shape is basically one of the reasons why teams are able to get out of our press. Because Son doesn't press the same way as Richarlison. Richarlison's obviously injured, and when our front line doesn't press, or we don't press together as a unit, there's gaps all over, and they're able to beat our press, and then all of a sudden it looks like, oh, what the hell's going on? We keep getting counterattacked.
Okay, Ash, can I quickly just say, you look at certain presses, yeah. Fucking playing against Bayern Munich, you see that suffocating press. I had to open a window, bro. That's how suffocating that press was. I look at when I watch, certain companies press. Even at Burnley, he had a good press. Like City got
players with sheets,
like Liverpool have a good press. Our press has always had holes in it. Yeah, it's always been a little holy. Our press. It's never. And if you look at Ange, yeah, this is one. If people want to be critical of the manager and stuff, I like it when they make it substantive. His press was a bit ropey at Celtic too, at times. Yeah, the teams could find the extra man. Teams could play through it, and to me, that's a big thing he has to fix. Yeah, and in preseason, I haven't overtly like when you see different players play the press. Yeah, I've noticed the young players they go. The older players, they have that moment. Like, oh God, I've got to go. The young players just go. Do you know what I mean? The players like, oh my God, I've got to go. And that split second, you're like, I've got to go. That's the moment the players got a little bit of room to play through the press. And so I'm looking at this and I'm saying that technically there's still issues with our game, but you can almost say chicken and the egg. If we improve the press and we improve the quality of the players in the attack, yeah, does that stop us turning the ball over and conceding crazy counterattacks? Because you've also got to factor in, I've been watching our game sometimes and I'm like, why do we give the ball up like this? Like, what is that? Like, is that just communication between players, lack of synergy? Because the turnovers that we can give up on the counter are crazy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm doing in Europe, by the way.
It's also like one thing is the shape of the pressing, right? But also I think with the way that we invert the fullbacks, we really have to be careful with just giving the ball away, right? When we are in possession, we have to be really careful with what we do with the ball, right? If you cast your mind back to the Newcastle game, right, where we got slapped 4-0, like 2 or 3 of the goals came from us losing the ball in front of their box, right? I think 2 of them were Son and 1 of them were someone else, right? I can't remember, but I remember Son lost the ball, definitely, right? And all the 2, like we didn't even get into shape to start pressing, and the ball was already in the air, flying towards Gordon and Isak, right? And I think this is my biggest issue, and I think I went on an absolutely like mad fucking rant after that game, right?
Yeah.
Because clearly the issue was that we were pushing too many players up
Forward.
the
And that's the
pitch,
part that I
right?
make. Go on.
And
Yeah.
we left Van de Ven and Romero 2v2 against Gordon and Isaac, right?
Right.
And when you defend, when you leave your players 1v1, there is always a chance that they get skinned, which Van de Ven got skinned expeditiously, right? And the Leeds were like absolutely flying after that game, right? But just imagine if we left one more player.
Holland's breakdancing entry, I heard, yeah?
So, sorry, again, Jay?
It was Holland's breakdancing entry for the World Cup. Van de Ven, I was hearing, yeah.
Australia.
If we left a third player back in that game, whether it was Bissouma, Udogi, whoever, right? Just one more player, if you left them behind, then they can always like go 2v1 against the guy with the ball and Romero can cover Isaac or something like that, right? Where we leave our players 1v1, Van de Ven gets skinned and we are fucked because Gordon is already passing and they are 2v1 against Romero.
Michael, this is exactly the point in terms of the duels. We put ourselves into situations where it's do or die with our duels. And it's to me, that's just mad. Like, and I'm a big Ange fan, yeah. But like season 2, we've all got to stop with we all gave the manager a lot of leeway and wiggle room to a point where, you know, I'll say to Mr. Box Office, you know, like you're being negative or you're not being fair or this or that. But in season 2, all gloves are off, right?
Yeah.
Because we're all looking for the team to develop. And my biggest issue here is that my biggest concern, I guess, is I couldn't tell you where we're going to finish the season. I couldn't tell you. Like, if somebody said to me, like, what position? I'm like, my minimum expectations are top 6 and to appear in a final. What I want is to finish top 4 and win the Europa. So those are my 2 distinctions. That's what my minimum expectations. That's what I want, Mr. Box Office. I'm not going to be like fucking hell, Ange, if we don't do that. But I'm saying we must finish top 6 and we must get to a final.
If you lose the ball, right, in Europe, they will eat that up all day long, all day, every single day. And we will lose the ball.
Especially when you look at some of the teams we are going to play against in that Europa League, like fucking Porto or something, right?
Yeah.
If you lose the ball against them, it's just one long.
Jose's going to be in Europa. He didn't qualify Champions League, innit? So he's going to be.
Bro, listen. You remember Aston Villa in the Conference League getting their nose bloodied by Olympiacos? These teams don't play in Europa League, yeah. Like, we're definitely getting a bloody nose in the Europa League, no question.
Because the thing is that unfortunately, right? Well, fortunately, because if you like great football, we have to take risks.
Yeah.
Right? Because at the end of the day, we're going to lose the ball because we take risks.
Yeah.
And if you're not taking risks, all you're going to be doing is just passing the ball sideways, backwards, this way, that way, this way. Yeah. So we're going to lose the ball, and this is why my issue is, and we have to go back to it again, the wingers. Yeah. That's the problem. It's staring right in the face, and the centre midfielders. The thing is, though, I wasn't making fun of you, Michael and Jay, when you were saying about Basuma and Archie Gray. Actually, it's quite creative. Yeah. But at the same time, because you're giving a scenario, but at the same time, I don't trust any of our centre midfielders at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I actually now am looking at, and Ellie's going to love this, I trust Højbjerg more than what.
Because Mr. Box Office, I swear to God.
Danish king, come back.
Nah, listen, we're gonna like people are not ready for how much we're gonna miss that skill set next season because Højbjerg was a line breaker. He broke lines for fun. Højbjerg progress the ball in ways that other midfielders only dream of. Yeah, every pass always looking to play forward. We're gonna miss that, you know, because when I'm screaming at Basuma to release the fucking ball when he's at it for 2 seconds, yeah, I'm gonna remember there's a reason why Ange was like, yeah, we need Højbjerg on this pitch so we can move the ball quicker. Consistently, that was a solution for us last season. People say we traded Gray for Højbjerg. I like the upside of Gray. but that could be a material downgrade in terms of current ability right now.
Yeah.
It might be, you know. I've got to be honest.
You could have got a decent midfielder than rather than getting Archie Gray. I'm sorry. I think we missed a trick. I think we missed a massive trick. When you look at West Ham signings, right, and you can look at Aston Villa's, okay, I can see what you're talking about. Onana, he's a bit mediocre. I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one.
Doesn't he look like Sarr to you? He basically looks like Sarr with a little bit of experience.
I can't lie to you. He's not. He wasn't. He's not like. I mean, he's got experience in the Premier League. You know what I mean? That's what
they basically like Pokemon, right? Like Onana is an evolved version of Sarr, right? With a few years of experience and a bit more muscle. That's the way I look at them, right? Because like I think some of the opinions I've heard about Onana and the way people overjet this guy and say he's the next coming of Jesus Christ. I'm not in that camp, right? But it's like and we come back again to transfers, right? I think we need a 6, right? But I don't think we'll get a 6. I think we'll at best get another like Gallagher type of midfielder, not Gallagher himself, but
sorry to cut you, man. Do you think? Because everyone's like, lots of people have written it off. Lots of people think, "Oh, you're delusional for saying this." Do you think we get an Eze? Can Eze happen? And do you think we need Eze?
I think we do, and like first reason for me is the guy is really versatile. When I watch him play, I see him filling a lot of positions. I think he can safely play on the left. I think he can safely play in the Maddison role. I wouldn't even be against playing him on the right. He's done that plenty of times for Crystal Palace when Olise was injured. Mm-hmm. And I would even go as far to say that against like maybe a bit worse opposition, I think he could even play the 8 role, right? The more like I know I said myself we don't have like a 6-8-10 midfield, but one of the guys is a bit more defensive than the other, right? So I think he could play that number 8 role. And I think that's really important because like whether injuries happen or dips of form or whatever, having a guy like him can be really helpful to just field strong teams. Second thing for me is the fact that he's homegrown, which I already mentioned. We have huge issues with like homegrown players, right? And filling those quotas. Like not to the same extent now because we bought in Solanke and all that stuff, right? I just think we won't buy him because of the price. I just think the club won't spend this much money on a player, on a second player in the same window, right? Because
Michael, my only thing on that is that the more I think about it, I'm not people know me, I'm quite Levy neutral is how I like to but I think with an Eze deal, we can do the deal. Like I don't know what the sort of, you know, like the loan thing, you know, with our loan, I think to myself, is there something that stops us just spending that money? Or because the other option is you take a loan out from somebody for £65 million for 4 years, and we'll pay a little bit of interest, but we have the money, and then we give that money to Palace, and we pay back the loan to the bank that loaned us the money over that time period to get around the money up front. To me, it comes down to desire to get the player. Like I look at Destiny Do, I look at Neto, I look at Eze, and I'm like, for me, I'm always trying to see the sense in decisions. I'm never like trying to fuck the club. I'm always like, why have they done that? What's the logic here? With an Eze, I feel like this is our window to get him. I feel like next window it won't be there. I feel like the stars have aligned. Even now, you see that City, maybe now they've sold Alvarez. Maybe our window's already closed. Maybe we were too indecisive. And if he does go there, I'll have to say, I'll look at the reports that come out. I'll be like, did he say no to us? Did he? Because there's a lot of stuff that we don't know right now. So because people like you didn't sign Destiny Do. He ends up going to PSG to replace Mbappe. Like at a certain point, you can't critique the club for that. You know, you're aiming for a high level player. They choose to go elsewhere. The Neto deal, slightly different for me. Could we have done the deal quicker? Then I'm like, Mendes has screwed us before. Like Mendes probably was waiting to screw us anyway. So okay, cool. But now we've got these players. The next players up, yeah. I think we have to sign Eze in that context. Because if you don't sign Eze, who are the players now that weren't first choice players for you to go after that you want to? Now I'd be like, if you have aspirations of being a top team, you shouldn't be buying your third, fourth, fifth options in positions and expecting them to have the same impact as your first and second choice, because your first and second choice were your decisions for a reason, right?
Also,
by the way, because like, sorry, Ash, sorry, go on.
Yeah. No, just to add on to that, also the excuse as well from, like, you know, trusted sources, ITKs, etc., was we didn't go in for certain players because they were at Euros. They were at the Euros. They were away in a competition, so we couldn't move yet. And then on top of that, we couldn't move again because they were on a holiday. And that's what the voices, the chatter that was coming out from journalists, you know, that are quite close to the club. You know, people can debate about ITKs, etc. But what was the reason for us not moving a bit earlier for certain players? There's no reason why we didn't move for Solanke a little bit earlier. That one, for me, it feels almost like there was no plan. Do you know what I mean? Or if
like there was another option, maybe, like, as in, was he the second choice option? He's because with him not being at the Euros, can we logically say why didn't we move on him earlier when he wasn't at the Euros? There might have been other factors. We're obviously working on it. I'm not going to blast the club for not bringing him in earlier. I'm just very curious when all the information comes out in terms of what delayed us moving on him a little earlier.
So, like, I personally, when I looked at the way that we approached this window, right, and I have to, like, connect it with, because I've seen, like, Bryce saying enough with excuses for facts and whatever, right? I think there are certain, like, arguments where you can clearly call them excuses, but I think there are certain, like, situations where it's seriously not up to the club, right, to do something. Because I can clearly see a situation where we went in for Eze, right, and we agreed a payment structure with Crystal Palace, and then we rock up to Eze, and Eze suddenly gets a wind from his agent that City are interested, right, and he tells us to fuck off because City is interested, right, or he wants to wait until City, like, you know, show their interest or not, and then he agrees, right? And then there is nothing that the club can do if the player does not agree to the move, right? Because it's like the way release clauses work in England is not like in Spain, for example, where in Spain the club does not get informed about, like, you know, the
release clause.
Moving to like another argument, right? In Spain, it works that you just pay to La Liga. La Liga deposits money into the club's account, and if you are agreed with a player, the player can be gone like that, right? And the club doesn't even have to know about it, right? In England, it doesn't work that way. So the second argument might be that we are agreed with Eze. Eze wants to come, and we rock up to Crystal Palace, and suddenly they are like, "Now we don't agree with that like payment of structures, right?" And now I think you can point the finger at the club, because if they really want the player, they can, like, find a way to make that deal, right? But I think there are certain scenarios where it's seriously not up to the club to be the, like, in control. Some things are out of the control of our club, right? And with Solanke, quickly, I seriously think we had Toney as our first target, and I think something went on with Toney where they basically decided that he's not the guy, or he rejected us, or we couldn't agree with Brentford for money. I don't know, but I think something went on with Toney, and that's why we moved on to Solanke. That's the way I see it, and I also think we had Eze as our first target. Something went wrong there. I don't know what, right? We don't know what, and we probably will never know.
Michael,
that's why they started moving down the list, right? And
they said, Michael, sorry to cut you. They said that the 3 targets that they had, well, they said, journalists,
I think they said
that our 3 targets are still our 3 targets, and it hasn't changed since they got. So I'm like, are you guys telling porcupines because it doesn't really add up. Like Solanke, you should have just come out and said, you know what, you know, it wasn't our first 3 targets. Things happen, blah blah blah. There's a bit of like murky.
Don't you think they meant more positions rather than players? Like rather than they meant that they want to bring in a, like, for example, striker, right winger, and a centre mid.
Yeah,
I think that is speculation, right? I don't know what the IT case meant. Right. I don't know if they are just chatting shit, right? So
you're right. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Eze doesn't get done, what the club move into, what we do with that the next target, because the next target's meant to be coming fairly soon, right? I know the season's starting on Monday, but obviously the window doesn't shut until the end of August, so there's still time. They might think they've got time to play with, but it'll be interesting to see how they finesse or what type of marketing, and if people fall for the marketing and the branding, not the branding, but, you know, like the PR, should I say, of it all. Because now it's like the house of cards, they're starting to fall over. I'm like, they're running out of excuses. They said Neto didn't get done because it was too expensive. Let's see what happens with Eze. Do you know what I mean? Whether people, because some of the fan base say that, you know, they want a right winger over Eze. Do you know what I mean? That's why I asked the question. What do you think? Do you think we need Eze, or do you think right wing's more important? Do you know what I'm saying? But where I stand on it, for Eze, for me, he's basically, and I think one of you guys mentioned it earlier, in terms of dribbling, he dribbles differently. He holds onto the ball. He retains possession for us a little bit different. So we're not
Grealish-esque.
We're not going to concede the amount of chances we are when you've got more quality players holding onto the ball. Also, in terms of a goal threat, I think he's massive. Like in terms of like actual goals and unpredictability, you're going to get a lot more from Eze than you would do for some other players that, you know, like people are saying, oh, right wing, Madueke, Bakayoko.
Can I just say, Ash, I can see Eze on the right. Like, as in, like, people. I can see Eze on the right. I think he could be his man.
But a lot of people have typecast him. Say a lot of people. Some fans have typecast him to say that he's only going to be there to kind of push Maddison. Like, he's the number 8, and they don't see him in any other position. Maddison will drop out because Maddison's been playing poor. When I think, actually, there's a world when you can both have him and Maddison, and that kind of upskills us in so many departments. Yes, you can drop Maddison and have him in the 8, the attacking 8, wherever you want to call it, or the 10 or whatever. But equally, you can give Son a rest, make Son fresh, put Son on his toes. Do you know what I'm saying?
But can you look at like Destiny do? The club was obviously very interested in that player. That player predominantly plays off the left, can play in the middle, can play off the right.
Correct.
Seems very similar in profile to Eze. Very similar. And
thank you.
Yeah. So the thing is that those two players are quite similar in terms of what the club sees in them and what they would like to get out of them. And I think Destiny do. I think the money got a little bit rich for us. I don't think at the beginning of the summer. I don't think the value was anywhere near what he's ended up going for. I think he was at least like 15 million lower or something like that, like 10, 15 lower, and it's gone up and up and up. And then you've got go to PSG to replace Mbappe, and they've made a big pitch for him, and it's just got a little bit too rich for us. No,
I think the problem is at the moment we've turned into a club that are making these signings very much difficult for ourselves, when back in the day it was a standard signing. Eze should be a standard signing for us. Savas says it perfectly. I've got to say it, because at the end of the day, we will make, if we got Eze, everyone will go out their mind.
You know what? And I agree and I disagree. I agree because I think they're going to use Eze at the end of the window, or they're going to try to present it like we've Eze, like now the rest of the window's done.
Finally got him, you know.
Like no one thought again.
That's when you'll hear from. This is where you'll hear from Johan Lang, by the way, at the end of the transfer window. By the way,
no, I don't think
it all.
Johan Lang. I think Paratici's running the show personally. I think Lang's a sideman. I'll be real. I don't think he's the main event. like a box office. I think he's just, yeah, I think he's a side man. I'll be real. I think though, with
what makes you say that, Ash? Expand on that a little.
I just think, looking at what he did at Aston Villa and the players they're getting rid of, I think he did well to bring in the homegrown quota, if that makes sense. The English player that they like. I think he transformed their English talent. But I think the reason why they got in their new director of football, which worked with Emery before, is because he knows the European market a lot more. He's a lot more in depth. And I think Paratici, in my opinion, he knows how to cultivate or look for diamonds in the rough, your doggies, your poros, etc. Do you understand? Yeah. And I think when Levy, for me, he wants to get a player that is not low value, but they're high value, but they're low in price. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
So I think Paratici was brought in because he developed Juventus's their youth academy, their academy style. If you look at even a player that's gone to Aston Villa, Benet, is it? I forget his name, man. Barrett. Oh, I can't remember his name.
Barrett Chow or something like
that.
Yeah.
He's a player. Watch out for him. No one's talking about him. But again,
do you want to know why no one's talking about him? Because he was the DM of a relegated side. The thing is, Ash, I like you. I think you are very analytical and you know exactly what's going on. My rebuttal is I've lived through football eras where people have said this kid is the next big thing. This kid is the next big thing. And there's so many players like that now. The skill is now being selective. Do you know what I mean? That's where the skill is for me.
You're speaking my language because I've been talking about that so many times, and it's up. Ashmatic, was I on the phone? Yeah, we do talk on the phone, by the way.
Many conversations about this. Yes, we have.
We do talk on the phone, by the way. Everybody. Yeah. Do I talk to on the phone every single time about this? Or we talk about making the star already the star when they're not even the star yet. Archie Gray's proof of a pudding all day long.
But going back to my point, I think that when Paratici, you know, he was the one that found Kulusevski as a young kid. You know what I'm saying? He's the one that developed that side of Juventus's academy, and then obviously the scandal happened, and Levy pounced on it, and he was like, you know what? I'm going to spend a lot more money on Paratici comparison to what Lange is. Lange is a lot cheaper, in my opinion, than what Paratici is. I haven't got the figures in front of me, but even like when we were doing the recruitment of managers and we were linked to Nagelsmann, right? And Nagelsmann would have cost us an arm and a leg. Then we were linked to Slot. Remember, Slot rejected us, but he was like, we had to pay Foyenoid out of the contract, but then he wanted extra P's on top, you know, to sign him as well. Do you understand? Paratici probably went over to Levy and said, you know what? Instead of you going and paying all this money for the manager, why don't you get the style of football you want, get the philosophy you want, back to where Poch was, you know, you went a bit sideways, get maybe this guy called Ange, he costs a lot less. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. Why not get this guy?
The wage is way less.
But the only issue with what you're saying is Paratici wanted Enrique.
Well, yeah.
so maybe it was like a different options, because you know, probably in his position he probably presents like a couple of scenarios to the board, right? And he's like, listen, we can go for this guy, established, huge name, will cost us a shitloads, right? Or we can go for Ange. That's why I've mentioned plenty of times, I don't think Ange is the guy. I think Ange is the guy before the guy. That's an optimistic side of me, right? But I sometimes, when I look at it, and look at what
bro, like Michael, you're a very smart guy. The problem, you can't look too closely at it, because I'm going to agree with you. When you stare at this, you start to see things that you wish weren't there, because you really want it to succeed, but you see them. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. So I completely hear where you're coming from, because the point is the manager has to adapt, because based off, I look at things more like system. So you say, okay, what is the quality of our system versus other teams? So I'll be like, okay, boom, City have a better system than us. Yeah. Arsenal have got a better system than us. Liverpool probably have a better system. Then you start getting into like the Brightons and the Newcastle, and then the differential is, do we have better players than them? So once you get to a point where they're closing the gap on the players, and we don't have a better system, that's when you start to see trouble. Yeah, that's when we start to see the proper issues with this team. Last season, we still had enough of a gap of quality. When I'm looking at how to, like, I look at West Ham, for example, and I think, fuck, if Porro inverts versus West Ham and they do that crossfield ball to Somerville, we're in trouble. If Kudus is running out of defense, we're in trouble. Bowen, we're in trouble
as well, by the way. Tadibo
on loan.
Yeah. So this is the point. It's like I'm watching this and I'm like, man, I wish. Like I'll look at someone like a Marco Silva, and I'm not Ange. I'll be like, I wonder what a Marco Silva could do with a good team. Like, because it seems like
So like my point basically was right when, and I know I might just be looking for like, you know, something that isn't there, right? But the way I think we've been clearing out the squad for 3 years already, right? Where you can cast your mind back to like, you know, Sissokos and Oriers. We started then, right? I think we are like half done with the clear out, right? I know some of the players that we already brought in will be part of the clear out in the future, right? But basically, like we have a lot of like young, exciting players. I also think we brought in a lot of like young talent from Europe early enough so that they will be homegrown in a couple of years, right? Bergwall will be homegrown club-trained player. Archie Gray will be homegrown club-trained player, like Vuskovic, you know, and a couple other guys, right? I think we are like right now establishing the system where like we are changing, like as you said, we kind of like want to change the philosophy, right? We want to go away from like Conte, the style of play that they had, and we want to go into this progressive style. But to go through that transition, Nagelsmann is not going to look over it, right? Nagelsmann is a guy that you bring in, you give him good players. He has an amazing system. He has like, you know, tactical knowledge, and he wins you shit, right? That's the way I see Nagelsmann. And I think Ange is a cheaper and worse version of a guy like Nagelsmann or other progressive coaches, right? But I think what he's here to do is to guide us through that transition period. And listen, I know it's an extremely optimistic like point of view, right? I know that there is plenty of holes you can pick in this plan, and I get it, and I know that the fan base does not have the patience to wait a couple of years and all that stuff. I completely get it, right? That I'm just trying to find the logic in how the club operates, right? And I think this is what they kind of want to do. The issue for me is that this plan is really like long-winded, and I'm not sure this fan base that has struggled so much over the years will have the patience to wait for the transition under Ange to finish, and for the next manager to come in and win, right? And try to achieve things.
It's not about patience. It's not about patience. Patience was gone a long time ago. The thing is, whether upstairs got patience.
Oh yeah,
and I know they've got no patience, because as far as I'm concerned, like I said, and I've said it how many times since June, as soon as his fan base turns, he's out the door.
Yeah, the turnover at Spurs is crazy.
It shouldn't happen. Like I said, Arsenal with Arteta didn't listen. Arsenal Arteta board didn't listen to the fans when they turned. Yes, they were lucky that we were in lockdown.
Do you remember it was what you call it?
It was COVID season, right? But
Alex has got a good point, like, and he's been making the point since last year, like as in like they held their nerve, and I think you know what I'm gonna say, Alex, I don't say this very often. You were right. You weren't necessarily right when they would turn, but look at this motherfucker smiling. Like I say, like you were right in terms of the fan base is even more fickle than I thought they were. Yeah, in terms of understanding. You've seen how long it takes other teams, and I guess what you've got now is fans are saying, "Nah, it's not going to work. I don't buy it. This coach is shit." And that creates an atmosphere whereby you start thinking you know more than the coach. You start, and that's not to say the coach can't make mistakes, but once you get critical mass of a certain number of fans who are questioning certain approaches, and I question it in a respectful, organic way. I'm like, what about, like, if I could easily express the same views that I've got with more bass in my voice and with more aggression. Do you know what I mean?
Hey, before you go any further, Dan E has a question for you, and he says, "Do you think Ange will adapt?"
The answer is he has to. Like, it's whether I think it or not, he has to. Like, I've watched preseason, and even the most optimistic preseason is, even if we play perfect, a team can still get an opportunity on the counter quite, like, relatively easily. And to me, I'm like, it's just one of those things where when we played against City, it showed me he can do it. So that for me is what the biggest plus of that City game was. I know that Ange can adapt the formation and team for us to be more stable and solid.
Yeah, City is a great example. But I brought up earlier in the show, I don't know if Dan wants to watch it, but the reason why the first half I did the average positions similar to what Sava did, because I watched the show. But what Sava didn't bring up was the second half. And the first half, we were really narrow with the fullbacks normally inverting. In the second half, he had the fullbacks wider. So we were no longer narrow. The fullbacks were covering the parts where we were getting. And then what he did with Bentancur sat a lot deeper as the 6 in front of the 2 centre-backs, almost creating a back 3 at times. And so those small adaptations, you might miss it. Obviously, when you're watching the game, you're looking at the first half, it was terrible. And we conceded a whole heap of chances in the first half. And it's very hard to look past that, because people will caveat and say, but the second half, it wasn't proper Bayern team. Everyone changed the team, but so did Spurs. And they still kind of dealt with what was... The question was, did he adapt? He did. You know what I mean? Regardless if they changed the personnel or whatnot. The threat was no longer there down the sides because he tweaked it. Sometimes he goes narrow, and then sometimes he goes wide. And sometimes that's why you see Spurs play better in the second half than when we play in the first half. It's just about obviously managing it and seeing, what is the game state? How are the players playing? What's the opposition doing? And then tweaking when and if needed, if that makes sense. But yeah, I still don't agree fully with the both of fullbacks inverting. I still think one should go and one should stay. And I still think we should do a 3-2 at times rather than a 2-3, meaning 2 centre-backs in the rest defence when we have possession versus 3 centre-backs with 2 midfielders as a unit. And it does affect the way you attack and how you set up and triangles and diamonds. I've done it on another stream, but I might do it as the season goes on to explain it visually, because obviously me just saying it doesn't really make sense. But
yeah, no, and I think the perfect thing is that, like, what you just Ange adapts his tactics way more than people give him credit for. That's one thing that. So when people, but the thing is that I guess the starting plan A is what people are more critical of. It's like the starting plan of what we need to change isn't right, and I think from that point of view, like we need to be. What do they say? Defense wins titles. We're not stable enough. Like, as in, like, we're not. When I watch Arsenal play, like, I'm like, fuck me, these guys are hard to play through. Do you know what I mean? I'm just like, oh my god, this. Bro, like, out of possession, that it's a nightmare, because even if you get past Rice, they've got 2 walls in Gabriel and Saliba there.
There's a size of them,
bro. The size and the animals as well, bro. They're absolute beasts. So I'm looking at that, how stable, and then it's like, Arteta was like, we're a little bit open to play with Havertz in midfield. Let me bring Jorginho in and build a Donald Trump voice, build a wall. So
and then you've got experience. Jorginho's got experience of winning.
And
you know what I mean?
Thomas
Partey as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's a great team. You know what I mean? It's like I have to say this, right? What was the last? What were we talking about? What were we talking about earlier? Just remember what we're doing. What was it again? Sorry, guys.
So like the plan of the club or something like that, right? Where
Yeah.
they have to stick with
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to actually know, because you were going to answer why you think, because I said Eze was just should be a normal signing for us, and you were gonna
Yes.
you were gonna say something about that. That
So,
was that was
oh yeah, completely forgot about that. So basically, I think when people look at Man City going for Eze, they're like, the perception's different to when Tottenham get Eze, if that makes sense. I think they say like, oh, you know, it should, like, it depends on the fan. It depends on your perception of it. Because some people think, yeah, Eze should be an easy signing. I'm looking at Palace right now, and I'm like, raw, Palace they're not a poor team, you know. If Eze is to stay at that team, in that club, they've got Kamara, sorry, the Japanese youth. They've got Sarr, they just signed from Lyon, I think it was. They've got, and Eze could stay in that team. That team's kind of cooking. They still got Mateta as well up front. And their manager, who used to play for Frankfurt, he's got them playing a different style, a different system. Who's to say that Palace aren't a serious outfit next season? Who's to say that, right? You know, back in the day, I would agree. I would say, yeah, you should be able to trump Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace, they're a really small team.
And I just don't think that Steve Parish hasn't dropped a 200k a week contract on the table for Eze. Be like, yo, there's a big boy contract here. I think Palace could even potentially pay him more than we might be thinking to pay him.
You know what? Those days where like you just go over to the smaller teams and you just grab them, I think they're becoming far and few between. I think the gap's changing now, where you got your West Ham. We already mentioned them coming up. Palace are coming up. I feel like Aston Villa are there or thereabouts. I know they're not like, you know, they might drop off a little bit, but you know, they're still a serious outfit. Like they still got what's his face up top, man? Watkins. I think Watkins is a serious player. They still got Bailey. Their front three for me is still better than our front three. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Then you've got teams like Chelsea. As much as I hate them, like their defense is shit. But bro, the team they've got with Neto and
Neto, Palmer, Nkunku, Jackson.
Nkunku.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good attack.
Like
Sterling and stuff like that. You can't even get Mudryk. Like they've got good players. Like I know people don't like Mudryk like that, but they've got some people off the bench. Like if you keep Sterling on the bench, that's a lot.
Man United obviously doing their thing. So, but basically, what I'm saying is, like, I know I kind of gone off the tangent because I was talking about Eze and Palace, and we should be getting those. That Eze should be nothing. Do you know what I mean? But I just think it's a different climate. Back in the day, yeah, I would agree. Like, yeah, man, we should be just like they're like a Southampton. We should be taking all of their players. Do you know what I mean? Like Newcastle put down, I think 50 million for Grahy, and Palace rejected it. Imagine that.
I think what changed from like 15 or 20 years ago, because I think one of you mentioned that Savas said that this should be a normal signing, right? I think what changed a bit, change in the context is that like 20 years ago, a club like Spurs or Arsenal or United could just financially bully the lower club, right? So like when you are, just imagine you are like, I don't know, West Brom or someone, right, in 2005, and you have a good player, right? And United rocks up and they offer you 40 million for that player or 30 million for that player, right? And your like yearly revenue is 15 million or something like that, right? You are like, fuck yeah, I'm going to take 30 million for that, right? But right now in 2024, when you are Crystal Palace and you make shitloads of money,
and you're hosting boxing events, you know what I'm saying?
It's not like Crystal Palace is some like, you know, club with 5,000 seater stadium, you know, and nobody goes there and you know, and all that jazz, right? You rock up to them, you offer them 50 million for Gray, and they tell you to fuck off because they don't care, right? It's not like their survival or their like existence is dependent on that money, right? They can easily tell you to F off and actually try to build their own plan, right? And situations like that are present with many, many clubs, right? Fulham can tell you to piss off if they have a good player, right? It's like
Yeah.
Brentford.
Back in the day, we took Dembele off them like it was not like nothing. Scott Parker, we were shopping there for fun. But now, if we're trying to move to Fulham, yeah, you're right. Fulham tell us to fuck off. What are you talking about?
And that's if the player doesn't say, like a Paulinho, say, listen, I've got bigger fish to fry, boy. I'm off to try and win the Champions League.
Say like that's a step up. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like it's mad. Go on.
And also like those type of clubs had no like leveraging power in those early days, right? So in the same scenario, like United rocks up to West Brom, asks for a player, right? And they're like 30 million. They're like, fuck off, you can take 15 and leave it, right? And then West Brom is like, yeah, I will take 15, big Man United, right? Sorry to offend you, right? But we thought like the price of a player is bigger, right? I think in that sense the landscape has changed.
Yeah.
I still think but that's one side, right? But still to support what Sava said, we are a big fucking club.
To act like one.
Crystal Palace may be rich, but we are like 10 times richer than them, right? We still should be able to rock up to them, ask them how much a player is, and if they give their like financial structure for a deal, we can negotiate it a bit. Because I'm not saying you should just bend over and let them have their way, pause, right? But you still should be like taking care of your financial well-being, right? But we still should be able to make that type of signing quite easily, right? So then, with that context, coming back to what I said, I think something went wrong with either Eze or with the structural payment, right? I think Eze might be waiting for that City move, right? Because as much as he wants to probably stay in London, what was reported, right? I also think if City rocks up, you want to go to City rather than to Spurs, right? Let's be honest about it.
That as well. So the competition, I was going to say as well, because with City, there's a thing where Liverpool, their player's not happy, is it? What's his face?
Diaz,
yeah. Diaz is twerking, saying, right, I want 250. Give me 250 or I'm cutting. Liverpool like, bro, go then. You know what I'm saying? Go then. We've got players in that position. So then that's the reason why. And I think City are doing what Brighton are doing, and they're stockpiling wingers. And I think Pep is trying to reinvent again and trying to change his tactics again, because he no longer values central progression. I think he's more trying to, because he's got Savio there, he's got Doc there, he's got Grealish there, and now he's thinking, I might be able to get a tune out of Diaz. Let me get that type of winger there as well, because there was rumors that obviously 70 million, that was linked with City and Diaz from Liverpool. So there might be truth in that. And whether he sees Eze more as a winger type, who knows? You could be right. And I said it before, I don't think we get Eze because I just know that Levy likes to pay in blocks. He doesn't like to play in a one big sum. And City have got the leverage. They're like, take it or leave it. Like 50 million on one goal, like that's unheard of. Like in terms of, like even the top big clubs don't really pay that much amount of money. Well, Chelsea are different, But you're right. You're right. At the same time, if we're going to act like a big club, just to box office's point, then we need to move like a big club. You know what I'm saying? PSR, FFP. You know what I'm saying? We're meant to have all this leg room, wiggle room. What's going on? But guys, I'm going to end the stream because we've been going on for over 3 hours. Big up everyone in the chat. I know everyone's still in there, but I could go on for another 2 hours personally. No, I'm joking now. But yeah, man, big yourselves up each and every time. Before you guys do leave, I need to make sure you like, share, and subscribe. So make sure you do that on the way out. Even if you're watching on TV and you're watching this on the playback, whatever, make sure you just like, share, and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend, man. Help us out, man. Because I think this is good information. It's a good debate. And yeah, man, we did it professional, not negativity, not positivity, no happy clapping, no, you're not a real fan. It's fans like you. None of that. It was just mature debate, football debate as well, just football's talk. It can be done. It can be done. Do you know what I'm saying? Respect to the panel each and every time. Big up to Deji that was in it earlier. Big up to Jay that's obviously gone off. Respect to Brian Daigle. They've all taken time out to, discuss things, all Spurs, the club we love. But guys, Michael, respect for coming on. I was meant to have you on the other week, but, better late than never, right? So
always a pleasure, Ash.
Any final words, any final pieces, any final takes? Did I miss anything you wanna end on?
We've talked a lot. Like,
I'm
a bit excited with the upcoming season. I know it's not necessarily the feeling that all Spurs fans share, but all I got to say is just like don't lose your shit too much if you don't win against Leicester. That's how I'm going to end off, right? I'm not saying not to be angry. Just don't, go over the board. Try to find like a golden middle, right? That's the way I look at things, and I hope more people look this way.
Yes, and Mr. Box Office TV.
Unfortunately, Michael, I don't agree. I want them to lose it. I want it to happen because I want it to see how it goes. Because as far as I'm concerned, it will show whether we've got the calmness to the boards have got the calmness to stick to their word. They want to keep this manager. So as far as I'm concerned, the fans can do whatever they bloody well want. As far as I'm concerned, because if you've got strong leadership from the top, it will influence your fans, and you won't have a joke like we've seen with Arsenal again. Like I said before, if you've got great strong leadership from the top, your fans will follow. And clearly, we ain't got strong leadership from the top. And look at our fan base at the moment; everyone's divided. So what does that say to you? It's quite easy. It's quite simple. And I've said it since June last year, and I'm going to keep on saying the same old message because, as far as I'm concerned, I think it's quite simple, and that's it. And that's all I need to say. And if Ange is gone, we know whose fault it is. That's all I need to say. But it's Mr. Box Office TV back from Jamaica. Nothing's changed. It's like the same old thing, like Dan says in the chat. Who's big up to Dan, the Hotspur hood. Same Tottenham, different day. That's it. Big up Jay. Big up Deji, to always turn up for a debate, unlike some people. But let's move on, and that's it. Big up to you, Ash. Hopefully, I wasn't getting on your nerves too much, but because I saw a little bit of strong dings in your eyes, a little bit there.
Don't worry about me. Don't worry about me.
I love you too, bruv. You're like my brother, bruv. You're like my brother, bruv. But anyway, big up to you, bruv, because you hold the fort for Marlon, who's off there, not doing his duty for my boy Ashmatic, by the way, yeah. You know what I mean? You need to give him a drink, and that's it. Back to you, Ashmatic. I'm done. If you don't know, get to know.
Yeah. Also, guys, Mr. Box Office's channel's in the chat. Big up, Just a Harmless Potato, putting his channel in there. We need to hear everyone's views so we can critically think and analyze each other's point of view. Like, who's to say I'm right and who's to say I'm wrong? You know what I mean? It's all opinion based. But on that note, guys, I gotta love you and leave you. Big up. Come on, you Spurs, and in Big Ange we trust. Peace.